Oh, yeah. Rowdy's in. He's making noise. He's ready to put a show together. Not sure why, but he decided to put a big old groan in as soon as I pushed the go button. So anyway, we're Almost Agreement at gmail.com. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter. We're on YouTube. Go to the website, almostagreement.com. Check out what we got going there. Big earth-shattering news in the juvenile detention front here in Knoxville, Knox County. The illustrious, the long-term, the never-ending reign of one Richard R. Bean, Richard something Bean, has put in his, he's quitting it. He said he's quitting in 2 months. So anyway, that's a long story, and it's going to be fun to dig into here in a little bit, among other many exciting topics to discuss. We're Almost Agreement at gmail.com, as you said, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. On all your favorite podcast providers. Like us there, share us there, text us to your friends. Do what you can do to support the show. We're going to keep doing what we're doing and talk about stuff. So, intro, a little rum, and here we go. How about day?
Hey.
I'm going to regret saying this, but are we going to get summer or what?
What do you mean?
Like, it's chilly outside right now.
Yeah. I haven't looked to see if it's that much below normal. It's still not technically summer.
I know, but it's still usually, like, pretty warm by now.
True.
Like, me and this are talking about, like, we oft, like, for the older one's first birthday, so 15 years ago, we were at the Splash Pad, which they opened early. They usually don't open until Memorial Day weekend.
Except for the one down North Shore, sprung a leak, I think, within like the first couple days.
Oh, this year it did?
Yeah.
Nice. Well, that's the one we used. That's the one we went to. And like I remember calling Parks, and they're like, well, we normally don't, but we might open it first week of May. And that's like, well, that's the when we want it. And they're like, yeah, we might have it open. We don't know. And it's like, well, we sent invitations, and so we got people coming. We might be sitting in the dry. But they turned it on, and it was great. The kids had a great time. Whatever. But... you know,
it's been kind of cloudy the past few days.
It's been cloudy. It's been rainy nonstop, on and off, but nonstop rainy for.
Yeah.
I mean, like in hindsight, we got uber lucky for Holaroo. It's 2 weeks ago now. We have not had rain. We have not had a rainful weekend, except for that Saturday in May. We got super lucky. So, anyway, pat myself on the back. I don't know. Feel lucky about it. This weather's good. It's odd. I find it odd. Maybe I'm crazy. I don't know.
Mother Nature's a bitch, man.
Well, I mean, where's my global warming at? Ooh.
I think it's supposed to rain most of next week, too.
I know. It's just been nonstop rainy.
El Nino, La Nina.
Something like that. El Nino. Oh, yeah. So Richard Bean, I don't know. Do you know any of the history of this prior to this week?
No.
Okay. So, Richard Bean is the head of the Juvenile Detention Center. Apparently, part of it is a good section of it is kids. I don't know this for a fact. Like Scott alluded to this earlier, and I was confused. I thought it was where some kid gets convicted of like an aggravated assault or something like that, robbing a grocery store or whatever. Shit happens. Kids do stupid stuff. The Juvenile Detention Center is where they go. I thought it was where they go after conviction. Apparently, it's where they go before conviction. If you get fully convicted, you go somewhere else.
Huh.
And so, the moral of that story is all the kids that are in there, majority of the kids that are in there are under the presumption of innocence, I would think, if the system is doing what it's supposed to do.
It's all pre-trial?
That's what Scott alluded to, and I'm not sure. Maybe it's a combination. Maybe both. Maybe any kid that gets arrested goes there, and then they get convicted and they go back there.
I wonder if it's, kids that don't have a bond or couldn't get bonded out or
right.
ordered, held until trial.
Right. Or both. I don't know.
Yeah.
Again, either way. And so a couple years ago, the missus turned me on to a podcast that was all about Tennessee juvenile court system stuff. It was mostly based around this judge in Murfreesboro. We talked about it back when I listened to it. I listened to it on my way to and from camp, or to camp. I listened to the entire podcast series, all 6 episodes, on my way to and from camp one year. And it was extra funny because they start talking about Murfreesboro when I'm looking at the Murfreesboro exit on 40. Yeah. But like that one, there was a specific judge in there that just, like, she hated kids. She was the juvenile court judge and hated kids. And so, like, any excuse, she was throwing kids in their juvie system. Like, little stuff, big stuff, didn't matter. Like, you're going in and, like, at the maximum she could get away with, all that kind of stuff all the time. But in that big story, it was from Politico and NPR Nashville? ProPublica and WPLN Nashville Public Radio. Did this whole big story on Tennessee juvenile corrections. And there was a whole section of it on the Richard L. Beam Detention Center, who has been run by Richard L. Beam for 50-something years now. So since the mid-'70s, late '70s, he's been running this place. Mm-hmm. And it has been found to have the most use of what's the word? I can't remember the nice word that they use. You and I would call it solitary confinement, but they call it something else on kids.
Seclusion.
Yeah. Isolation, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And so it's not like this facility or individual hasn't had a little bit of issue compiling. And so apparently what happened was, from Knox News and talking to Scott and the Compass coverage of it, so it involves kids. So the Tennessee Department of Children's Services has grounds to be involved in the process. Apparently they are the ones who issue permits to detention centers for kids. And so in the permit process, there's annual inspections and all this different stuff. Apparently for years and years and years, like back to back to back, the Department of Children's Services would issue a memo of demand to Mr. Bean in the detention center saying, you need to fix this problem, you need to fix this problem, you need to do this way. And it was the same memo year after year after year. So they've had a continuum of a problem that was refused. I mean, there's no other way. I mean, it could be a budgetary issue, could be a lot of issues on why it wasn't getting fixed, but it was not getting fixed, whether it was a conscious refusal or whether it was just I have to make a priority decision and I have the budget for one or the other. The thing you're telling me to do is not within my budget.
Right.
Which you would think that there would be some argument to get some budget to fix that if it's such an issue that it's over year in and year out having any issues.
You ever what any of them were?
I don't recall the specifics on it. But what set this whole thing in motion this week is DCS was in doing inspections and stuff and talking to employees, and a couple of the employees were honest with DCS, essentially, which made them look bad, and Bean fired them.
Yeah, so that had something to do with like retaliation.
Right, and so, again, I'm still not exactly sure where Mayor Jacobs gets in the loop in this thing, but it's Mayor Jacobs and the juvenile court judge. I'm trying to keep the notes in front of me so I can. Judge Irwin really kicked this whole thing off this week, so I'm thinking maybe either DCS told Judge Irwin about it, that these are employees that talked to us and we think that's why they got fired, or these employees having been in the court systems for a while know Judge Irwin and said, hey, I think Mr. Bean fired me because I told the truth to DCS.
Right.
And then that got to the mayor's desk, and then the mayor put out a video demanding the immediate resignation, or demanding that the state step in and remove him and take over control of the center.
Yeah, I thought he asked, because I guess maybe the county commission has some kind of oversight over it. Because I thought one of the articles I read that talked about it said that, like you said, that the mayor doesn't have that much power over it. But
he doesn't.
He was recommending the county commission to do something. So I guess they have a little bit more oversight.
Well, the county commission can change the ordinance, which basically takes it out of the entity that it currently exists as, and would put it. Or the request from the mayor was to put it into Sheriff Spangler's jurisdiction.
Right. Yeah. I think I might have read that.
And so it's not that.
Well, what complicated one of the firings was it was like the one nurse. So
right. It was the one nurse and the one IT guy.
Oh, was it an IT guy? Was it?
Yeah, and so whether it was retaliatory or not, the fact they only had one nurse was already a problem with DCS because they're supposed to have one on call every minute of every day.
Right.
So that if something were to happen in off hours, there is some sort of medical professional on site to assist in the situation. But apparently one of the things that this nurse had told DCS is that they've had problems administering medications to the point where medication for one kid got in another kid's hand who took it probably for fun. That's my assumption. I don't know for a fact, but took it for fun, and it rendered him unconscious, and that kid laid unconscious somewhere with no attention for a significant period of time. And so hey, kid, you're not supposed to be asleep right now. Why are you sleeping right now? You're on drugs right now. That's a problem. Maybe we should get some medical attention in here, and then we'll figure out what's going on. Nope, they just left the kid there. is apparently what happened. I don't know what the IT guy was saying. I don't know what the IT guy.
Well, if he wants to sleep on the floor, we'll just let him sleep on the floor.
Right. Let the other kids kick him in the face. And so I don't know. Like, from what I understand of the depths of the story, my question to Scott on his show today, and I think it's the right question to be asking right now, is why did it take this to get us to where we should have been at some period of time ago? Like, this isn't like I joked with Scott. This is new. It was old new news. It's old news that the Bean Detention Center had a lot of problems. Like, that's old news. People know about it. Why was because still a shitty firing. I don't feel like that raises to the level of, okay, we need to get rid of this guy. And so it's like, well, we already knew we wanted to get rid of this guy. That's how I take the 10,000 foot view of this story. Is Mayor Jacobs and other people in the county already felt the need to get rid of this guy, and this was a good excuse to blow the whistle and make a big stink.
Yeah, maybe it was the most egregious that they could kind of capitalize on.
But that's so gross. The most egregious thing is you fired some adults. It's not that you're abusing children every fucking day of the week. It's that you fired some adults. That's the egregious thing.
I think the worst was that essentially once they fired that nurse, they were out of compliance, or they were literally trying to operate without.
Yeah, but they were already out of compliance. But they were already known to be abusing children, for lack of a better word. I am alleging. No, I'm not alleging. It's no. Like I said, this ProPublica story was talking about it. Like, they use more solitary confinement on kids than any other facility in the state, and that the ProPublica piece, if I recall it correctly, was talking about how top people in the field of juvenile corrections and stuff like that feel that the maximum that you should ever do to a kid is a couple hours at a time, but they're leaving kids in it for days. Yeah. Which I don't learn. I mean, me alone with my thoughts for 20 minutes starts getting scary. And I have an adult brain that mostly works correctly. And you got a kid with a messed up brain, and I mean, a messed up brain because it's a kid, plus whatever it is that got the kid in there in the first place. I mean, I don't know that people are inherently evil. Maybe they are. I don't know. But I don't know. It still just feels it feels to me like this should have been an issue for a decade plus already. How do we not find an excuse sooner? How is this the best excuse we could get to finally to get rid of this guy?
I mean, there was a story, but I would say, 95% of people in Knoxville probably had no idea that there were issues at this facility.
Sure. But the correction to that, is 95% of people still don't have a fucking clue what's going on there.
It's true, but this at least made the news. I don't know, or it made local news and maybe got some more traction, more eyeballs on it.
Yeah.
And maybe before it wasn't really known as much. So
I don't know.
The public's more aware. Maybe they felt more pressure to do something. Well,
and the other part that's functionally in play here is there was the bean machine, which was it's kind of lost weight over the last couple a decade or two, but him and his wife were powerhouse Republican kingmakers, for lack of a word, on the local level. If you were a Republican running for any seat in Knoxville, Knox County, in the late 90s, early aughts or something like that, you went through the beans. You weren't winning races if you didn't have the beans on your side. And so that's one of the other questions that's in play is okay, well, they finally lost their, political prowess. She died 6 months ago. Really? But you finally break some of your prowess, your political prowess breaks down. You now have a mayor in Knox County that isn't subservient to you or doesn't owe you anything for your blessing in getting in the seat. And so, like I said, I have a lot of questions on how this was the thing that got to the point. Again, I can understand the premise of, we knew about those things and we've been complaining about those things and we're trying to make something happen on those things that we've all known about for a while. But this one was specific and acute enough that we could take action on it, and so we decided to take action on it. I can understand that if that's the truth, but I'd like that out of the mayor's mouth. We knew about this and we were trying to do something about this sooner, but we couldn't. We didn't have enough legs.
They would never admit that we knew stuff was going on and didn't do anything. We were waiting for a kid to die or whatever. No.
I mean, it's we knew about it and we were trying. I mean, if they were legitimately trying behind the scenes to do what they could, but they didn't have enough leg for whatever reason.
Right.
But the problem again with that is that there are probably still people that hold seats in and around Knoxville or in the State House that owe some sort of legacy to the Beans and their political prowess in the past, that maybe there's a little hesitation to take that leap because there may be some backlash from people who are loyal to the Beans.
Possibly.
I mean, dude's 80-5. He should have retired just anyway. I don't know. I've never seen him speak to say that he's not fully adequate, but 85 is pretty old.
He may not do much there. Maybe he's just kind of a figurehead.
Yeah. Well, it's a really weird system.
Still got his name on it and everything.
They have a 7-member board, but only 3 vote.
Huh?
And the 3 that vote have been on the board forever and are good friends of Mr. Bean.
Right.
And it's so Mr. Bean just runs the place. Yes. Okay. Well, the place has problems and it's continuing to have problems. Again, my question is why? How do we not get to something like this sooner? How do we not figure out how to force this?
You mentioned, maybe DCS is one of the few kind of oversight bodies that can require them,
and they don't have the budget,
quote unquote, require them to do something.
Right. And I think that's kind of one of the conclusions I've come to in looking at a couple parts and pieces of it and talking to different people, is that it seems to me that DCS wanted to do something, but the only real tool they have would have been to take over the facility, which means they would have had to staff it and administer it and do all that kind of stuff. And they don't have enough people to do their regular job, let alone take over a facility. Which still is just pull the permit then. If you issue the permit, just don't give them a permit. Then we don't have a juvenile detention center in Knox County, and then that becomes a big stink. I don't know. I feel like there was ways.
Another legal route, some kind of legal injunction or something.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I think you pull the permit, and don't let them continue to operate. And then there's the big, oh shit, what do? We don't have a juvenile detention center. Why didn't they get to keep their permit? And DCS says, well, we don't have the means to take it over, but they've been violating this thing in and year out and are refusing to fix it. So we had to take action. We don't have the capacity to take over the facility, so we just took away the facility. I feel like there had to have been something they could have done sooner than later. But here we are. So he's sticking around till August 1st.
I saw the mayor put out a statement.
Right, the mayor wants
still threw some shade.
Right, the mayor wants it to go through the sheriff's office. District 4 Commissioner Shane Jackson. He is open to the conversation about trying to, he's open to the conversation of different options on how to fill the void. He doesn't necessarily want to give it to the sheriff automatically. He wants to see if there's other ways we could go about doing this, because he's not a big fan of the sheriff's office.
No. So
we'll see. It's a developing story, but it kind of came to a pretty quick head today, to the point where it was kind of funny, because we're Scott and I record his show on Friday morning. We don't release his show till Sunday morning, and it was pretty obvious in the discussion with Scott that there will be something coming out later today. And that's why when you got here, I was doing a phone in with Scott, because we wanted to fill in. Because it was basically we finished the segment on Scott's show of him saying, this is all we know for now. And then we moved on, and then we were talking afterwards. I was like, if they're going to do a Friday dump on it, that's when they like to dump the bad news. So when they do the Friday dump later and we get an official announcement that something significant has happened, if you want to just call me, I can splice in a little piece for you. And so that's what we did. So Mr. Bean is on his way out.
The 3 board members will still keep doing what
Goodbye and good luck. I don't know. That's, again, to be fair to the timing part of it, if Mayor Jacobs gets his way and gives it to the sheriff's office, it'll take 2 months for the commission process to go through to change the ordinance to make it so. So it would be August 1st before the sheriff's office takes over anyway. The only way we're getting a change sooner than that is if DCS actually literally comes and takes it over tomorrow. Which if they didn't do it a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, why would they do it now?
Right.
Unless they were afraid that he's going to do something crazy on his way out.
Speaking of DCS, I think I did see a story that they're still having some issues occasionally, I guess, of some foster kids and et cetera, people in the hands of DCS still having to sleep on office floors or sleep in some of the offices. I guess because they haven't found another home for them or haven't found another place for them.
Yeah, it's tough. Speaking of money and things that mean money, is the the city held a workshop on that sales tax thing.
Oh yeah.
It kind of interesting because you got the critics from the right are, why do you need more money? You just passed a budget that doesn't need this money. You're spending an extra $25 million on the convention center payoff, and we just spent $160 million on this baseball thing. And what do you need more money for? If you couldn't pay for these projects that you want this new money for, why did you pay for these other things? You could have paid for them. That kind of stuff. That's what kind of argument from the right, where the left's more afraid of it's going to be a pick and choose spending thing. It's not going to be, it's not very well constructed as far as this money's going to this. And the argument, and maybe this is a bigger conversation to have, is the idea of a regressive tax. Sales tax is what they call a regressive tax. Or do you know?
Heard the term, yeah.
Okay. Basically meaning, and it makes sense, lower income people, as a percentage of their income, pay more if it's a sales tax. Like I joke all the time, we don't have an income tax in the state of Tennessee, but for example, if I made $100,000 a year and I spend my $100,000 a year because that's what I do to live, and it costs me $100,000 a year to live, I'm really only spending $90,000, and that other $10,000 is tax.
Yeah.
And so, the smaller your income is, the higher percentage of your income is going to be going towards tax stuff. Where for me it'd be 10%, but if I made $300,000 a year, but still only spent $100,000 a year, I'm still only paying $10,000 a year in taxes.
Right.
Although I didn't know this, I learned this today. Over $16,000 on a single purchase does not require sales tax, or you can only get sales tax up to $16,000. Anything above $16,000 is not taxed. So if you want,
you still pay up to pay the amount. It would be $16,000, even if it was $20,000.
If it was a $25,000 thing, you pay taxes on $16,000 of it. So you'd pay $1,600 in taxes on a $20,000 thing.
Yeah, I remember looking at paperwork when I was looking to buy a car, and they've got kind of different brackets to where it's taxed at this much, up to this amount, this much, past this amount.
Right, which is weird because one of the things about car dealerships and the kind of weird cabal that goes on in that game in licensure and permits to do new car lots is one of the arguments is that, and it's still probably true even with this new information, is that the number one generator of sales tax for a state is new car purchases. But it's like, well, if you're only charging this first $1,600 or $16,000 of it, I guess, how many things how many things do people buy that are over $16,000? That doesn't make any sense. Like that is extra regressive, I guess, is what I'm saying. Like if you could afford a $20,000 thing, then pay the $20,000 plus the sales tax.
Yeah. On
the whole thing. Why would you get a discount just because you could afford something that's $20,000 in one purchase?
Assuming it's probably similar with like home sales as well. It's only taxed up to $16,000 maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. That's good. Yeah, but then you get property tax on there and all that stuff. Right. I don't know. It's an interesting little tidbit in there. And so, the concern is that, the lower income people are going to be more negatively affected by it. I've been trying to start some conversation about the county getting on board. Because I've done the math. I've fully done the math now. And essentially, by the numbers, the city of Knoxville does a little over 2/3 of total sales collection in the county. So if the county were to fill in the gap with their own thing, if the estimate of $47 million for the city is correct, that would mean another half of that, so $23.5 million. The non-incorporated part of the county would collect, bringing that total collection to $70 million. At minimum, the schools get half of that. And so for a new tax on county residents who happen to buy things in the county and not the city, because that's the other part of it that is the number one A to me and why it's important, is two-thirds of the dollars you spend that get sales tax if you're a county resident are in the city anyway, more or less.
Right.
So you're going to be paying this tax as a county resident, maybe not 100% of the time, but a significant sum of the time. You're going to be paying this tax as a county resident. You might as well get something for it, is my kind of argument. So county needs to get on board and do it too, because that'll put $30-something million into the school for Knox County schools that the county is only actually going to collect, what did I say, $13 million of that? No, $23 million of that?
Not sure.
Yeah.
Can't remember the number yet.
The county's only going to collect $23 million. 30-something's going to go in the schools, and Knox County's going to have an extra $10 million a year, give or take, to spend on its own projects. If that
I thought the workshop was to talk about, I guess, or kind of think about different uses for it.
Right, and American Cannon has some stuff, has a very broad stroke version of stuff.
Yeah, so that was put out last week.
Apparently back when Victor Ash did it back in the day, when he did the first version of this from the 175 to 225 that it is now, when he did it back in the day, his thing was specifically, this is how much we're going to collect, this project's going to happen with that money, this project. Like, he had a list with dates and amounts spent on repaving this road here, putting sidewalks in this part of the city here, putting speed bumps in this neighborhood over here, adding this to the CAT bus systems. Like, it was a very specific broken down list, right, which basically made it so that, hey, when you go vote for this, this is what you're voting for. You're voting for an upgrade of this specific thing, where right now American Cannon's version of that is
parks improvement and sidewalks.
Right, sidewalks, parks improvement, road works, just very generic versions of it. And the understanding from a lot of people is it's going to get fine tuned, right, if she can get it through the city when the actual political campaign to try to get this voted on, it's going to be real fine tuned. She's supposed to be building a website right now that's going to be get us this new tax revenue, and this is what we're going to do.
I'd say with a lot of things, there's probably like a period of time where you have, a neighborhood park or a neighborhood or park system that's like put out a bid, or not a bid, but an ask basically of like, hey, we would like to add this to this park, or we want to add a sidewalk here, where you've got, a number of neighborhoods that want sidewalks put in their neighborhood, but
right, and everybody wants speed bumps apparently.
Right.
Which, I don't know.
They're annoying and help.
I agree. I fully agree. Nothing's more fun than watching a guy with a really low car trying to like single tire over a speed bump. It's maybe the most fun thing in the world. But it's like a real low to the ground. It's got some ground effects and extra body panels on there, and you're like that lovely when the what is it called on the front? The under air catcher thing?
Undercarriage or something.
Yeah, catches on that thing. It's just
like splitters, I think.
Yeah, like air splitter. Yeah, that's how. There's nothing more fun than hearing that noise when it isn't your car.
Yeah,
because
you're like pulling into like a parking lot or something.
Yeah, a little bit of a ramp, and you always cringe for him, but then you also kind of giggle. At least I do. I'm
what you wanted. I don't know why you thought that all the roads were completely flat.
Right, and so I don't, like I said, like on a purely philosophical basis, no, I don't think they should do the tax. On a practical, pragmatic looking at it, if the city's going to do it, the county needs to follow suit. We're fucking up if the county doesn't follow suit. One point that was made to me in my discussion on the Compass Colloquy about it was that the argument is that, well, the county residents that spend their money in the city, that extra tax money would go to services that the county doesn't pitch in on that the city does.
Yeah.
And so I can understand that, but it was also a list of things that's not on Kincannon's list, so it's like, like homeless services and some other stuff, which the county does. There's a city-county partnership on homeless services, although I do believe the city spends more on it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like I said, like I don't know. I don't like the other part of it to me too is like every surrounding county. Like I saw the map again earlier. It's Union County we're the same as Union County, and then
as far as tax rate,
yeah, the Union County's at the 2.25 local. And I can't remember. I'm trying to find the other one. I'm trying to find it real quick. And then I think it's Loudoun County is. Well, of course it won't pop back up because I'm looking for it. Loudoun County, I think, is the other one that is not. So, anytime you're going to Sevierville, you're paying that 9.75.
Don't they have like an extra like hospitality tax or like tourist?
I don't know if that's tax on top of, or if that's what that is
built into it or something.
Right, or if it's a different tax on the other side of things.
Or maybe it's just at like restaurants and attractions and whatnot.
Yeah, I don't know.
Not at the grocery store, gas station.
Yeah, the grocery store is the one. That's the grocery store is one of the exemptions in groceries.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
which I did. Jane George. Where'd she go? That's actually what it was. There it is. That's doubly good. There it is. There's the map. Loudoun County is only 2% flat. Loudoun County is actually less. But Anderson, Granger, Jefferson, Sevier, and Blount County are all at the max 275. And so I asked George what her stance was. Jane George is running for District 4, by the way, in the city. Which, while we're on, remind me before we leave the conversation of District 4 about talking about the Tallman residency. We talked about that last week.
The what?
Jeff Tallman. He ran for mayor against Kincannon last cycle.
I think so.
He's also running for District 4, and our good friend Chris Davis and his terrible hockey team have to do a meeting on him for the residency requirement to run for the seat. Because he owns a piece of land and had a house, which he has subsequently torn down and is building a duplex to replace it so that he and his wife can live in one half, his mother-in-law can live in the other half. But he's living in a property that his wife owns in Dandridge while all this is going on, and has been residing in Dandridge pretty much for the last 2 years.
Uh-huh.
And city ordinance says that you have to be in the district for a year prior to the election day. State law does that, which supersedes, does permit a temporary non-location. And the weird, like the definition of temporary is real nondescript. Essentially, that that you could show intent and real effort, which, if he's actually building this duplex, and he's like he says right now he's trying to get his permits and stuff with the city to get this thing, start building this thing, that would show intent and real effort into getting into that property,
right?
And so I don't know. It's kind of weird because he doesn't live there, but he intends on living there as soon as he can get this thing built. But right now he lives in Dandridge. And he did live there for he's lived in the Fourth and Gill area since the late 90s. And just in the last couple of years had started this whole thing and moved. And because he lived on the property that he's redeveloping into this duplex. Moved out to do the redevelopment. Plans on moving back in. At least that's the statement. So it's a very interesting little whatever. So Chris Davis and the Election Commission have a fun decision ahead of them.
It's good. There's at least some law that you can't just be a landowner to be able to, I guess, make yourself eligible for different positions.
Yeah. Yeah, but it does say it's an interesting conundrum that the Election Commission's in on it, because city charter is very explicit. You have to be there for a year.
Yeah. But
city charter is a suggestion. State law supersedes it. And state law kind of gives a pretty wide open exemption for this relocation.
Yeah, I guess it would essentially be state election laws.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of weird. I figured, if you're a incorporated municipality and you set up your elections in a certain way, you can set up, what's the matter? But the state law does, so there is supremacy law here, and so the state law does
supersede.
Yeah, it goes back to that, we were talking about all those ordinance changes. I can't remember what the topic was. Oh, on the city election for the districting thing.
Yeah.
The city council was debating it. It's why are you guys debating? Pass it or don't. It doesn't matter. You have to do it, whether you pass an ordinance change to get the... Because that's the one that would because it had to be a ballot item because it was a charter change. And it's I understand it has to be a ballot item because that's the rules and stuff like that. But it doesn't even matter if it doesn't pass the ballot. State law says you have to do it. You have to do it.
I thought that was some area that we had home rule on.
Nope.
No.
Absolutely. They had to do it. They had to do it because the state law said they had to.
I was going to say, I think there was some legislation that was passed in the last year or so that regarded, I think that.
Yeah, it's the one Elaine Davis put up.
Oh, okay.
Elaine Davis started it because Eric told her to, because Eric thinks he can win District 3 with Nick Cipro, and has an actual valid argument to it, to be fair.
Yeah.
Because Nick and other Republican-leaning, nonpartisan city race candidates had won primaries and then lose in generals when the whole city votes on it.
Yeah.
I think it's the correct way to do elections. But anyway, Jane George is also running. So if for full context, Tallman, George, and Matt Matt D are the current field. This Tallman situation pending. If either way, by the end of this week, the city race field is set. And the only question mark is whether Tallman will be in it or not. And so we'll have a useless primary in District 4, or we'll have a real primary in District 4. Which, whatever. Jane George is one of them running. and I asked her what her position was on this tax increase. She gave me a pretty good answer. Her initial reaction was shocked that after the budget passed, the mayor was asking for more. There are a number of things to consider. 1, is this the best or only way to generate revenue for these purposes? 2, we still do not have any specifics on how they're going to be spent, and we talked about that already. 3, I wish there were ways to not tax over-the-counter medication, basic hygiene products, and other non-food items. Groceries is a little misleading. That's a valid point. 4, it's a nickel to every 100, but if you don't have $100, then you don't have a nickel either, and that's on the regressive tax note. 5, some of the projects are more equitable than others. Getting roads paved seems to benefit more individuals than greenways. Although I love our greenways and personally use them, the reality is who takes advantage of them, it might be skewed by higher incomes to those that don't. And I'll add that our current greenways are flanked by a whole lot of non-native plants, which may not be important to everyone, but I believe we should have a budget to better maintain the ones we have. So my question is, what's your stance on this? And I don't feel like I got an answer. To be fair, there are a lot of questions still out about what specifically the mayor's wanting to do, right, which she does note in there, but it seems like she's leaning to be opposed to it. So for those that care and live in District 4, Jane George doesn't seem like she is on board with this tax thing. But like I said last week,
maybe she's rightly withholding opinion until all the facts are out.
Well, and more importantly, like she said, like we were talking about last week, we don't know where the city is on it yet. As far as residents, people that are going to vote on this ballot item, we don't know where they are at it. And if you're running for a seat, you probably want to know where they're at. And more importantly, you don't have to make an opinion on it because you don't get to make the decision. It's going to be voted on at the same day you're getting voted in or out of office. So you could say whatever you want to about it. It's not going to change what's happening. I guess you could make the argument that if you were to get in, you would try to change some of the funding process if they do pass it.
Right. Or bring more money to your district.
Send it all to Holler. Holler needs $50 million. We could use it. Let's build an amphitheater. Let's build an amphitheater in the Holler.
Think could be used that much?
No.
Oh, okay. Good answer.
I mean, are any used that much?
Not necessarily. I think they started using the one down the World's Fair Park a little bit more often than they had, but that thing was falling apart.
Right, and that's on the budget. They're putting $10, $50, or $7 million into it this year to finish.
World's Fair Park, or that just the amphitheater?
Just the amphitheater.
Huh.
Because it's not been renovated yet, but I thought they did some work. I'm really confused. Maybe they got some money a couple years ago to just get it functional again.
Yeah, maybe
because it was closed for safety for a while.
Yeah.
Like, it was inaccessible because they were afraid the weird little tent thing was going to fall down.
I remember it looking kind of rusty one of the last times I was under there.
And so, but on this year's budget is money to get it renovated, whatever that means. Maybe redo the stage and get new lights and sound system in there. I don't know exactly what's included in the renovation, but it's $7 million worth, I believe, is what the budget item was for it. But, I mean, yeah, it's probably once a month. Once to once and a half a month, so 12 to 18 times a year it gets used. But it's also tiny. Like, what's capacity in there? Like 500?
Nah, no idea.
It's pretty small.
Probably something close to that.
I want like a hi-fi bias.
We're not getting that.
Where like that seats 500, and then you have a 70,000 foot lawn or 70,000 capacity lawn behind it.
No, we just make acts bring their own stage. So I drove by the one that was there a couple of weekends ago, whatever was going on.
Where?
They had a decent-sized stage right there in World's Fair Park.
Oh, the one down in the...
I guess out on the lawn.
Down on the lawn, yeah.
Field, whatever they call it.
A couple weekends ago was before Hallelujah or after?
Before.
That was
like the Rhythm and Blooms?
Yeah, no, it's... fuck, I don't... Something Sky and Whiskey Festival.
I thought that was one that was in the old city.
No.
Okay.
It might have used to have been, but it's been in the World's Fair Park the last couple of years. It's always the first weekend in May. That's one of the things.
Southern Skies.
Southern Skies, yeah. Southern Skies and Whiskey Festival. Which I got tickets to. I got passes for and just didn't go. Well, I was told I could have some if I wanted them, and I just didn't go.
Right.
So that one's a city. That one's a city special on the city special event calendar, and it's now what they call a legacy event, and so it gets its weekend if it wants it. So its weekend's off the books. April's off the books. I need to get with Kendra and have a little chat on schedule availability because I got to figure out when we're going to do Hallelujah next year. Because graduation weekend I don't know if it hurt us or helped us. Personally, long term, I don't want to do graduation weekend. I don't want to have to interfere with my kids' graduation. I don't want to make that the official for at least 7 more years.
Yeah.
7 years from now, we can make that the official weekend because then I don't have kids. Well, if they go to UT or not, I don't know. Whatever. But 7 years from now, I better not be running it.
Touche.
I'll still be a part of it, but I'm not going to be running it. And so I'll go to my kids' graduation. And then I'll bring my kids down to the holler for the 200,000 people that are packed in for my super, super cool event that it becomes like a big fucking regional deal.
They got an amphitheater down there.
Yeah, that's right.
You build your own separate track.
Yep. We shut the street down for like 2 weeks to build out and set everything up, and I got $1 million sponsorships from Goodyear and Budweiser.
Just not Red Bull. They do their own.
Yeah, I'd love to get I don't know, I'd be curious. There's like something like I don't know. The Red Bull pissed the city off a couple of years back when they did some event here, and so the special events does not like them.
Huh. So probably too jacked up on caffeine and
right. Well, apparently they just left all their trash. They just left and left all their hay bales and whatever all they had set up and just left it for the city to clean up.
Like, we were going to quote unquote donate those to you guys.
We were under the impression that was part of what the city did for this event, and I guess not. The city was like, no, that was I don't know who gave you that. There's nothing about what we talked about that should have given you that impression. So you're just bullshit and left.
We might have said bring your own hay bales, but we didn't say.
We didn't say you could leave them.
Right.
But like there is like some weird little ism in the back of my head that's like, we keep doing this a couple more years and it keeps getting bigger. Then I'm gonna get a phone call from Red Bull and be like, hey, can we get in on this event? And I'm be like $5 million for me personally. You guys do whatever you want. I'll sell you the event and retire. I'm gonna have to do something. I gotta figure out something. I might have to go back to work. I really might. Like I'm kind of freak. I was joking with a guy today about like I've refused to go look at what percentage of our total sales we are going to lose.
Yeah, come
January 1st. I would say a conservative estimate would be a third. That's a lot of money. That's at least. Oh, I don't know. It's probably going to be at least 2 employees.
Right.
We're going to get laid off for at minimum 2 employees are getting laid off for this. I don't know. We're trying to figure out if we have any options. I'm really confused. I sat down and went to there's the hemp law group, which I got you some rolling papers if you want them.
Cool.
Which is really fun. Like it's just a really funny little swag thing. They have branded rolling papers for their law firm because they quote specialize. Like okay, so part of it is like
that's one thing I was going to ask is what's potential because it happened a couple times before. It's like there was a pending lawsuit that essentially pushed off the implementation date.
Okay, so try to follow this. It's crazy. All right, so the current law that's on the books on hemp flower itself, THCA flower, which is by far the most popular thing, raw flower. The argument that this hemp law group went and got an injunction from a state judge, which is what we've been delayed on, and was supposed to have a decision in November. Then they pushed it back to January. Then they pushed it back to June. So we were waiting on this new June on the decision on it. So right now it's just on a temporary whatever, which this law firm did get done. Kudos to them. But their argument is that the flower itself. So the law, the current law that's on the books before this new one kicks in, is what the term used is hemp-derived cannabinoids or HDCs. And so I've used the term on here I always do it as a banana split. The law firm's version of the same argument is corn. Corn on the cob is not a corn-derived product. It's corn. But when you take that corn and grind it up into cornmeal and make corn tortillas, that is a corn-derived product.
Yeah.
And so their argument is that hemp flower is not derived from hemp. It is hemp. And so it ought not be taxed and or overseen as the Department of Ag was trying to do.
Yeah.
And so they have a temporary injunction on that. And so their argument then, therefore, is if you've held this injunction up, that means that you agree that this is not a hemp-derived product, which means that any taxes collected on the sale of this product was void because it's not a hemp-derived cannabinoid. It's not an HTC. It's hemp. It shouldn't have been taxed.
I thought it was mentioned specifically in the legislation that passed.
The new one, yes.
Right.
The new one very specifically
covers
the bases. The old one didn't. And so their argument, or what they're planning on, quote unquote, is they're about to file a federal lawsuit against the state of Tennessee for misinterpreting the Farm Bill of 2018 or whatever it was that Obama did.
Yeah, 2018.
So basically they're going to try to get the Supreme Court to step in and force the state to treat raw hemp as raw hemp regardless of THCA content. And to fund that, what they're doing is they're asking us to request a refund on all taxes collected on flour since July of last year. And if we request that refund based on the injunction and are granted it, we are obliged to try to return that to who it's due to, because it's not due to us. It's not our money.
All right.
It's your money because you spent money with us. And so we'd be obliged to do our due diligence to say, basically put an announcement out, probably have to put some documentation in the paper of record. So we'd have to buy some ad space in News Sentinel and, put the parameters in there and be like, if you have documentation that says you bought from us, we owe you that money back.
Right. You held on your receipt from
a year
months ago,
from almost 2 years ago.
Right.
Or up to almost 2 years ago.
Right.
And so what they're asking us to do is put that out when people come to get their money back. If they fit the parameters and you give them their money back, say, hey, here's your money back. Or log into this website over here and donate it to these guys who are doing the federal lawsuit so that you can get back to just buying your flour from us like you used to. And once the time period elapses of us doing our due diligence and trying to return the money to who it belongs to, any leftover money, they're asking us to donate to them for that too.
Yeah.
Which is not a bad, I don't know. It sounds crazy to me functionally. Like I follow the logic of how they get to where they're going, but it sounds fucking nuts to me. I don't think the Department of Revenue is going to come off any of that.
Yeah, they're going to be like, you want your money back? Oh, okay, yeah, sure.
Well, they'll be like, yeah, okay.
We'll get back to you.
When we have, it's going to take years to figure out.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, by that point, you're going to have done what you've done. And right now, personally, I don't really have a lot of faith in them being successful because I went to their meeting, their Hemp Law Roadshow a couple years ago, and they walked us through everything that was going on then and how they were going to make sure that we stayed safe and a viable industry, and here we are. So I have a little lack of faith in their skills in getting any of the shit that they say they're going to get done. I don't think it's for lack of trying. I think there is, but I don't know. It's one of those, like, I like to go to those because I like to see the room. I'm curious how many people are paying attention.
Sure, yeah.
And they only did...
Did they mention any other shortfalls from before?
No, not really. I mean, they acknowledged it or whatever, and like,
what do you guys think you did wrong? What happened?
Well, I mean, a lot of it was
we lost.
I mean, a lot of it's the truth. It's like we got to elect people that are at least pro hemp. Like Briggs is there. Despite how he comes across to me, and I get real confused with him, he seems to be pretty anti-hemp. And then, functionally speaking, they said that they said that there were some shenanigans at play on the House floor, and I was like, I don't really know. I'm curious. I'd be curious for a second opinion on that statement, because normal process is introduced, goes to committee, committees add some amendments, goes to the floor. Well, that's what happened in this one, and then when it went to the floor, the floor removed all the amendments, and so it reverted back to the original, basically. And then a new amendment was added that was basically a full rewrite of the whole damn thing. Because some of the amendments they had carved out the THCA ban and the THCP ban. And so, anyway, long story short here is that I don't know. I guess not that people care. Like what's left is going to be in your liquor stores, and that's why I'm scared that I'm going to have to get a job.
Yeah.
Because I can't compete with a liquor store in pricing. Because the pricing model that a liquor store uses is based on a whole different set of factors than my pricing model. And so a liquor store is going to undersell me because a liquor store is going to charge less margin than I do and more margin than they normally do on liquor, because liquor is such a fixed thing, and it's going to fall into it's basically going to fall into go to a liquor store, buy a bottle of Jack. It's nickels and dimes difference. What's the competitive difference between the liquor store next door and the liquor store across town? Selection is about the only difference that I see, except for Total being cheaper than everybody else because they're Total.
All right.
But liquor stores are liquor stores. It's a very the liquor store side of ABC is a very rigid game. You don't have a lot of margin to play with. You don't have a lot of stuff. Usually what the game of liquor stores is always playing specials. So you advertise specials that get people to come in, and then they buy a couple other things while they're there.
Sure, yeah.
So you give up $1 on your bottle of Jack because that guy's also going to get a bottle of wine for his wife, and that's where you make your $1 back. But you get him to buy your bottle of Jack and wine from you instead of the one that's closer to his house. That's the total it's like I said, I would argue that if you wanted to if anybody wanted to do the research on it, a $7.50 at Jack Daniel's is within a $3 range in every liquor store in Knoxville, maybe even including Total. And so for me, what's the specialty? What do I provide that a liquor store can't? I provide information and knowledge. Well, at this point, my information and knowledge is moot because the products available are only what the liquor distributors are carrying. So what's my insight worth anymore? Yeah. Because everybody can have the same stuff. So all the and to the next level of it, it's okay, I've got companies that aren't distributed through local beer and liquor. If I want to keep carrying their stuff, I've got to get a local distributor to pick them up.
Oh, man, think about that. Yeah.
Right. And so we have Excite brand is probably the best example. We sell the shit out of Excite brand. They make some great edibles. We get them directly from Excite in California or California. They're a huge company. They will likely get picked up by one of these distributors. And even if I could still buy from them, they're probably the deal when the distributor comes in is you can't sell to anybody in the state. We sell it in the state. Which I couldn't do anyway. That's a subset of the law too. I can't buy direct anymore at all. Unless I even get a distributor's license, which is ungodly expensive. I didn't realize this part. This is on my list of things to talk to Briggs about. Because that's one of the things that Briggs and Massey is you can do your own distribution. You don't have to go through one of those distributors. It's well, I do if I want certain products because they're all going to be exclusive. But for other products that I have that none of the distributors do have, it might be worth me taking the shot and saying, hey, I'm a distributor in the state of Tennessee who actually cares about hemp. I'm not some liquor guy. Let me be your exclusive dealer in the state. But it's a $5,000 license.
Per year.
And you have to carry a $750,000 bond. Which for the layperson out there, it's just a $75,000 tax that you have to have. Now, you don't have to redo that regularly. You just have to build it back up if you ever dip into it, which is a weird thing. But basically, I have to hand the state $75,000 and say, hold this. Thank you. And while you're holding that, I can do the things that this permit provides.
Okay, I thought it might be more on the lines of an insurance thing.
It is.
You had to be covered up to that.
Well, you get you pay the insurance company. An insurance company sells you the bond for the listed price.
Okay.
And then they guarantee the state that if for any reason anything happens, if I die or whatever and don't pay my taxes, they can take it out of that bond. I don't really understand exactly what it is. It's the state's insurance that I will pay my taxes. And so because all package stores do something of that sort, and so there's some details on that I got to figure out, because that's one of the things I've thought about. It's that we could make up some of our losses by becoming a distributor of a certain set of products in the state, and therefore make anybody like, somebody in Memphis that wants to buy Excite says, well, we have an exclusive distribution deal with this company, and then they send me the info, and then I do the sale,
right?
The wholesale sale, because the distributors are taking all the tax liability too, which I'm not excited about if I want to get the distribution side. But for the retail side, it's nice. I don't have to think about taxes anymore.
True,
because all the taxes goes on the distributor when they bring it into the state. So if Excite I bring in, it's not cheap. It's like 2 cents per milligram. So like on a 15 milligram chocolate square, it's 30 cents. But if you're going to wholesale them,
boxes and boxes, yeah,
right. If you're going to wholesale them, you're buying them by the 1,000. It's not a cheap tax.
Yeah.
And then it's like $300 a ounce, I think is what they said, of raw flour. Which there's no point in buying raw flour. Because you can't, the only raw flour that you can buy is like Delta 8 sprayed weird stuff. It's CBD with Delta 8 or something sprayed on it.
Yeah.
Which nobody wants.
Sure.
I mean, we're going to have to look into it. I don't know. I'm scared. Like that. So all of that's going on. And then at the same time, I've got there's a vape law that's going into effect, which one little aspect of it I like. It's going to force all the, any disposable vape device sold in the state of Tennessee has to be bottled or has to be American-made juice and filled in the United States, which I'm okay with.
Yeah,
like the Chinese juice is not good. They do some weird stuff that I don't really like, but unfortunately, the demand doesn't give me a choice, and so I have to sell them. There is one company that we carry that already does it, which is nice because we already have a good relationship with them. Sort of, but it's also a couple, like I think it's a nickel a milliliter in in a closed device, which is a disposable, and then 10 cents a milliliter for one of these.
A juice, yeah.
Which that's a 120 milliliter bottle. It's $12 in tax on a $20 retail item.
That's your charge when you buy it, or that
I'll be have to. I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't believe they have in-state. There is registration for all products to be sold in the state, which again, 12, 13 years of experience in this industry is out the window, because any Tom, Dick, and Harry can get the list that the state has, and that's going to be a pretty good list of shit to sell because it's a public list. Yeah. And so everything that I carry has to be on this list.
What was the other one?
What?
Let's say there was two different laws that are getting ready to pass.
No, that's the nicotine one, and then the hemp one we were talking about.
Oh, okay.
So those two combined, or
let's say there was two vape ones that were coming out.
No, there's the two parts of it being the tax part.
Okay.
Well, there's three parts of it: the tax part, the state registration, and the American juice part. But the American juice part it doesn't take effect till like 27 or 28. So the one good part of it is way off in the fucking distance.
Yeah, I thought there was still talk of like the different like fruity and like different flavors.
Well, there's the no marketing to kids aspect and stuff like that, which a lot of them like stupid stuff like what was it? One of the off-stamp brand ones. They changed they had a Grape Rancher, which was a grape Jolly Rancher flavor, and they changed it to Poppin' Grape or something like that. Yeah. Because like any reference to a candy has become kind of taboo, and so people are avoiding even using. Like we have it's like sour straws, the flavor, like that's what it tastes like. Yeah. But they changed the name of it because sour straws is a candy, and so calling it a candy makes it quote unquote marketing to children. Which again, there are bad players out there who absolutely have. They've gone out of their way with Mickey Mouse and all sorts of bullshit, unbranded, unlicensed use of Mickey Mouse logos and stuff like that on products to sell them to anybody and everybody. But it's hard not to say that you have some eye on kids. But I'm an old man. I like bright colors and sweet things.
Right.
So,
all to make a buck.
Anyway, all right. So the other big one this week is City Council approved a whole new set of traffic cameras. out of the norm. Some of them, it's like 150 new cameras. Some of them are intersection cameras like we have around.
I thought that was supposed to be mainly just in school zones.
Most of them are speed trap cameras in school zones.
Yeah.
Inside the city. So if you're a county, if you're a school that is not in the city of Knoxville, which there's a handful, not many, you won't get any cameras. But city schools, at specific city schools where traffic data shows the need for anything we can do to slow people down and make people abide by red lights, these cameras are going to go in. And then downtown in Gay Street and in the Old City, it's a noise monitoring camera system going in.
I know they tried the noise thing. I think that was on Gay Street.
Right, they did a test run of it, yeah. And I don't know, man. Like, this is where I get to show off my full paranoia. I don't fucking like it. I don't like it because some company, Blue Shield or whatever the fuck, Blue Line camera systems or whatever, quote unquote, the city of Knoxville owns the data. Okay, fine. City of Knoxville owns the data, which means KPD can use the data however the fuck they want to use it. Even though this is quote unquote not going to be hooked up to the real-time crime center. I don't fucking buy it. These are still cameras. They're not video cameras. No, they're not. They're digital cameras. They can be video or snapshots. There's no reason that any digital camera on the market today is not a still camera. It can be used as one, but it can functionally be tapped into and watched as a live stream anytime anybody wants to, who has the correct access and know-how.
Yeah, very possibly. Because it takes short videos. I know, like the red light cameras used to do that.
Right, it takes like 6 pictures in quick sequence.
But it also takes video. Because I remember looking up a red light camera ticket I got like 5 or 6 years ago.
Was it a video? I thought like the one that I got was like 5 pictures that were...
right, but there's also a link you can go to like, I got to watch like a 4 or 5 second video. Like,
okay.
Oh, yep.
I saw like when I did mine, it was or when I saw one, it was like 5 or 6 photos that were in quick sequence that they played as a video.
Yeah,
which I guess is technically a video when you get down to the brass tacks of it, but it was like 1 second increments. It was a quote photo every 1 second, and it ran it in a 6-second video.
Gotcha. No, I think it was actually.
It wasn't
video,
like a full video of the one I saw. It doesn't matter.
Right.
The moral of the story is there's no such thing as a still camera in the digital format. That is a false statement in and of itself. I don't trust it. I don't like it. I've been on record a gajillion times. I don't like the crime center thing that they're putting in the KPD. I'm full on George Orwell on this shit, and everybody's watching. Big Brother's watching you. And the argument that I got from Lauren, bless her heart, was there's not enough staff there to watch it all the time. It's like, well, you know what? Unfortunately, we've discovered AI, and it fucking works. And to think that Noel is not going to put AI systems in place when and where he can is fucking ludicrous. He's going to use it. Because why wouldn't he? It's public. You have no right to privacy. It's public space. Correct. I don't disagree with that. And then... again, I love you, Lauren. You're one of my favorite people I've ever met. But the don't do anything wrong and you don't have to worry about it argument is a crock of shit, too. And to steal a quote from Mon Mothma, I don't know, that's a Star Wars character, is, I'm okay with that premise as long as you can tell me who gets to decide what's right and wrong. And the problem is that right now, Lauren Ryder and her friends in the city council that we currently have get to decide what's right and wrong because it's codified ordinance on what these cameras are allowed to be used for.
Yeah.
Well, what happens in a year, Lauren, when you're not on the city council anymore and 5 more Andy Foxes get seats? Andy Fox is a commissioner, but whatever. 5 guys like Andy Fox get seats in city council. And they're full-on authoritarian wannabes, and they change ordinance to allow these cameras to be used for X, Y, and Z. Then what? Some new person gets to decide what's right or wrong. And how, when I said, okay, fine, you're right, I don't speed through school zones, so I don't need to worry about it. Well, now it's, we watch you where you go, and we let the computer follow you around town. And at any point, at any time, anybody at KPD can know exactly where I am. And that's where we are. Because I'm a fucking schizophrenic, crazy person. Because that's where we're going. That's where we're going. You can laugh and call me crazy all you want.
I was just reading, like, Nashville doesn't have them at all. Because I was reading a story yesterday or today that there was a push for it, I guess, by some in the community. Because I think it was actually out of town. Like somebody in Georgia that came into town and was hit by a car. that he now has like nerve damage. They weren't able. I guess they found the car a couple days later, but they didn't have any traffic cameras, I guess, to figure out who the person was that was driving.
Listen, you want this? You want the solution? The solution is get a mass transit system that fucking works. Will that help school traffic? Probably not. But get a mass transit system. Like I would argue that the majority of incidents, if we had a good, functional, affordable, reasonable mass transit system that people could use and be comfortable on, you get all the normal day-to-day, as you could minimize the normal day-to-day traffic, that would change more in less time than any amount of traffic cameras and whatever is going to do. Any amount of increased enforcement. I don't buy, I don't know. I don't believe it. I think it infringes on our general freedoms. The idea that I have to spend my waking hours thinking about how many people are watching me right now is a problem. I don't like that. Whether I'm doing something wrong or not, doesn't matter. It's none of your fucking business.
You stop going to businesses because they got the cameras in them?
No, but I don't like it. But at least there's some premise of privacy there.
How so?
Well, I mean, they like the man doesn't. Fuck, I had to say it that way. The state. We've had this argument before. Private business and the state are different things. I have different standards for them.
You don't think KPD has access to like West Town Mall cameras?
They're not supposed to. Do I think they do? Maybe. They say they're not gonna, and they're not allowed to. That's
what they put those
on the parking lot thing for.
Yeah,
I've been looking for
AT-ATs. Yeah,
I've been shopping for those things. I want to buy one. I want to buy one to put down in the holler.
I think they're just on the trailers.
Yeah, I want to buy one of those, put it on the holler, just a big blue flashing light in the sky. The one that looks like there's a guy inside, which there's never a guy inside.
Yeah,
but the one that has like the box up there, like there's somebody sitting in it.
Yeah.
No, I don't like. I don't particularly like it. I have issue with the idea that we're in such a world where it concerns me when private industry uses it for data purposes, not just for quote unquote security.
That's you're allowing yourself to probably a wider array of entities getting access to you walking through some major retailer.
Well, and it's like, I mean, Scott said it.
You start getting those push notifications of like, oh, we got this on sale.
Okay, so here's
we saw you getting ready to walk out. Like, here's another coupon.
Right, which I don't know. I can say no to a coupon, but
but that's them watching you, knowing that, like, oh shit, they just saw me that I was getting ready to walk out.
Yeah.
That I picked up an item and we're like, yeah, maybe not today. And they're like, oh wait, hold on. What if we gave you $5 off for that, box of tennis balls or whatever?
Right. I don't particularly care for that. And that would sour me for future purchases with that place.
Yeah.
If it was just obvious that they were tracking me through the store and be like, oh, we saw you were looking at those Stanley mugs. Here's a cool deal. Buy two, get one free.
Well, most of it's tied to just geolocation. To where you've got the literal targeted advertising. It's like you're in this neighborhood. Here's
right.
You'll start seeing ads for those businesses.
Yeah, but if that particular thing's a big enough issue for me, I could just not bring my phone. I have that ability too.
Sure.
That's a choice that I make to bring my phone in there. Like I can not bring my phone into the mall, and then the mall systems and the Wi-Fi and all the tech does its thing.
No, I'm sure they do just as well with just facial recognition. They wouldn't be able to send the push notifications.
Right.
They wouldn't be going anywhere.
Right. They can, but they can accumulate data, which I think is problematic.
Yeah.
But I think and I think there's some issue that one of the issues I have with it with all of it is that when KPD comes and asks Abercrombie when I'm in there trying on T-shirts for access to their cameras and Abercrombie just hands it over, I have a problem with that. I don't like the idea that that it's kind of circumvents any sort of right to privacy. Like, yes, Abercrombie owns the cameras and they can do what they want with said footage, but it's also kind of gross that law enforcement,
because I've seen some where cops have gone into like hotels and tried to ask for stuff, and they're like, no, you need to talk to like our legal advisor first.
Right, but the problem with that is that as far as that conversation goes, like, I wouldn't, cops come in and talk to me about wanting access to my cameras, I'm going to be hesitant to say no.
Right.
I don't know if they're vindictive or not. Okay, so I say no, you can't have access to my cameras, not without a warrant or something like that. Yeah, I mean, they do it all the time on cop shows. I don't know if I've never experienced it in real life, but it'd be like, I mean, I own a bar. It'd be a real shame if I had two cops hanging out at both entrances of my bar all night.
True.
That would be what's called racketeering, I think would be the technical term for that.
Is it?
I mean, that's the mob term. It'd be a shame if your bar burned down.
Is that what racketeering is?
Yeah, like you pay your protection services, pay us to protect you from us.
That's not like extortion.
Yeah, I think that's racketeering.
Racketeering had to do with some like incoming money, like you've got multiple rackets of like illegal
anyway,
income.
You're right.
Sources.
Extortion might be the better word either way, but it's not out of the it's not undocumented that law enforcement has done some. What was the word you just used? I just blanked on it.
Extortion.
Yeah, has used some extortion tactics on people or businesses. And so it's like, just minimize their ability to do that shit. Don't just give it to them. That's kind of where I'm at on it. I miss the, presumption of innocence era of America. Everybody needs to be watched and everybody's guilty of something. I told you about that when I was talking to one of the officers when I was working on the first holler room. It was just like, I could not... I can try to empathize with the perspective, but like the whole time talking to him, all it did was I felt like he was just looking past me for what am I actually asking for? What am I actually doing? What am I trying to sneak by him? That was the entirety of the attitude that I felt in trying to talk to this man. And again, I can empathize with, from his position, he's probably got a lot of people that say one thing and do another to him all the time.
That's why they probably do get a lot of questions of like, so if I did this, could you legally arrest me? Or, well, what if I did that?
Like, you know how I feel about those. Somebody should be able to answer their questions, and I shouldn't have to fucking pay for it.
Why would you have to pay for it? What?
Because every time I've ever asked that question, it's always consult an attorney.
Oh.
Like when we had the original.
Well, I mean, because there's that line between they are literally law enforcement. They don't get to interpret the law. They're there to execute.
Right. But so I've told this story before. If anybody's long-term listener, when we had the original North Shore store, we wanted to do a fundraiser poker tournament for Wounded Warrior Project.
Right.
It's like, I don't know how to do this kind of stuff. I know how to do poker tournaments. That's easy. But to do a fundraiser and when you start getting real money involved with poker, it gets a little wonky. And I didn't want to get us in legal trouble with it. So I think I called the city, called Sharm Allen's office. I ended up calling the state's attorney general, the assistant to the state's attorney general, and talking to the actual assistant to the state's attorney general. So one of the top lawyers in the state. And I believe the if my recollection is correct, is something along the lines of, I don't think anybody from Knox County Sheriff's Office is going to come arrest you for this.
Right.
It's like, that's not the fucking question I asked.
I mean, in lawyer speak, they can't really speak in definitives.
Why?
Because they can't advise you that, no, you won't get in trouble.
Why not? Is it illegal or not? That should be an answerable question. Is it illegal for me to host a charity tournament and break down the details of what I plan to do? Is this illegal or not?
I think, like you said, it depends on how you do it.
Well, I'm telling them how I'm going to do it.
Right. I don't know. I'm assuming, I would think there's some kind of statute of if you do a charity thing that has anything to do with, an odds to win some kind of monetary value, that it has to be below or above a certain threshold.
Yes, I agree, 100%. There's probably a statute on that, and the state's attorney general should be one of the people that understands that statute and can fucking explain it to me.
I mean, from what they were saying, it sounds like it's probably borderline illegal, but at the same time, you're probably not likely to get prosecuted by the county or city attorney. But they can't say that yes, you will or no, you won't.
Why not? That's my problem with that.
Like, it comes down to the facts of the case.
Okay. Well, but the question should be if my question is specific, the answer should be, if you do it the way you described it to me, then X, Y, Z. Now, if you,
I mean, that was before we started getting like sports betting. So maybe
if
they had wind that there was legislation coming down that may alter.
If you vary from the details you're giving to me, I can't promise anything. But if you do X, Y, Z as you explained it to me, then that is within the law of the state of Tennessee, and you can do that.
Yeah.
Or even if you do it the way you're explaining it to me, that still crosses the threshold, and that would be a criminal gambling violation. It should be an answerable question. I agree. Can I do a poker tournament? I don't know. That's a fair answer to a very broad question. But I explained it like if I could explain the specificity of what I'm trying to do, how I'm trying to do it to be careful to stay legal, I feel like that somebody that works for the state should be able to answer that question. I shouldn't have to hire an attorney, which all I'm doing is hire an attorney to ask him or her if they think they would win the case if I did get arrested. That's all you're doing when you're asking an attorney's opinion on it. If I get arrested for this, can you beat him?
Right.
Not again. The lawyer's not answering the question on whether it's legal or not either.
It's like, would you take the case if I retained you?
Right. Would you take the case, and would you win the case if this were to happen? So again, nowhere in that attorney's answer is responding to the question on whether it is legal or not. It's whether or not they can get me off on the case.
Yeah.
So those guys suck. Anyway, I don't know. How did we get to there?
You wanted to tell that story again?
I do. I like telling my stories over and over again. 5 years of doing this podcast.
I'm not sure where it started on that.
I mean, we started with enforcement cameras.
Right.
And I hate it. And I wish the city hadn't done it. The city gets 52% of the collections, though.
So on like some of those, like you said, it's a third-party company that actually administers it, and points don't go on your record.
Now the way it reads, this one goes through KPD, so it would basically be that this blue line, which I have legal questions on that too. Can't get an answer to it because there's no such thing as a fucking true answer from a lawyer. But like, you
think KPD has a legal department? No, it's probably just through the city.
Right, it'd be the city attorneys. But if I were to take my camera and videotape you speeding through a school zone and turn it over to KPD, could they cite you for it? Because that's the way this one reads, is that basically the blue line people aren't citing you for it. KPD is the one that's going to cite you for it.
Right.
Through the evidence provided by the blue line people.
I think the original one, no, because I think I've seen like body cam footage of somebody else being like, hey, I just saw somebody do this, to where the police has had to respond, well, it's not something that we saw, so I can't just go pull them over. Or maybe that was more verbal. Video may have some, but...
Right. I have evidence. I have video evidence of a crime. Write him a ticket.
Right. I still think for like an officer to pull you over, they have to witness it happening.
Ooh, even more to it is be like, okay, I have video evidence of somebody speeding through a school zone. Write them a ticket and give me 48% of it. That's essentially what's happening right now. Could I do that?
No.
Why not?
You don't have an agreement with KPD
or the city
to give cert.
I'm going to request that contract. Like, hey, City of Knoxville, write me a contract.
Chief Noel in, I'll bring it up to him.
It costs you no money. I'm not Chief Noel. He doesn't matter. It's all about it's whether Chief Noel uses it or not. But City Council can pass the ordinance, and I can do it.
Yeah.
City of Knoxville. I'm going to just drive around videotaping everything. I'll be if I can submit video evidence of a traffic violation being committed, and I can submit that to KPD that warrants a ticket.
You just can't be driving at the same time.
Give me 48%.
You can't use your cell phone while driving.
They don't know if I'm driving or not. I might have a co-passenger. I might have a mounted camera.
True.
I would just follow around American Cannon, and I would just follow around city officials. I'd follow cops around. I mean, that's one right there. I'd follow cops around. I guarantee you're going to get cops speeding through school zones all the time. Cops running red lights with or without their lights on. You're going to get cops. Well, they don't. Their cars aren't. Well, that's when they put the hammer down. They're pretty loud.
Are they? I haven't really heard them too much.
I mean, they got that V8 and that stuffed in that little.
They got a Hemi.
Stuff
I'm sure it's modified to a little bit, but I don't think they modify the exhaust system.
Right, they're not super loud, but I mean their sirens are loud.
They're loud because they're hammering, like you said, they're hammering it down. I think my car sounds like that if I fucking let the hammer down. Would the use
of their siren violate noise ordinance?
No,
they have an exemption.
I'm sure the exemption for it being an emergency service.
I'm saying, I would I wouldn't do it, but some fun advocate person out there should do it. It'd be funny.
Yeah,
because I don't want to go to jail either,
or get harassed.
What you think?
Get extorted.
It'd be a shame if we followed you around all the time. Not really. I follow the law, friend.
Right.
I don't know. I just don't like. The Pandora's box is already open. Don't get me wrong, but it's just we're diving deeper into this surveillance state thing, and I don't like it. I think it's a problem because we're technologically we're at the point where it could already be combined pretty quick and easy. If Kash Patel wants to watch me for 90% of my day, any part of my day that it's not in my home, he could probably do it right now. He could probably do it in my home too. He could probably get with Apple and pull camera footage off my phone. If the FBI wanted or the CIA wanted to do it right now, they could probably already do it if they're not already functionally doing it.
Yeah.
And so let's open it up. Let's make it more. I don't like it. I would like to minimize. I'd like to start working the other direction.
Oh, that you're going to get to go to the end round and contact your phone service provider or your internet service provider, your ISP.
Right. Well, that's the other one. And again, I can't remember. I feel like it was Memphis or maybe Murfreesboro was the case where Murfreesboro KPD was chasing something down. The detectives were out doing their thing, and near where something had happened, there was a couple of houses that had some Ring camera systems, a Ring doorbell or whatever, and they did their due diligence and went to the house and asked the resident if they could check their footage, and the resident said no, and so they went straight to Amazon, and Amazon gave them access.
Oh.
Because I guarantee, as
there's probably something like some box you can check.
Very clear in the fine print. I'm sure it says very clearly in the fine print of your terms of service when you sign up and do a Ring account that Amazon owns that data, not you.
Yeah, I think it goes to their cloud, essentially what it saves it on. You'll have your own personal cloud that your stuff gets saved to.
And so, like I will never put a Ring system in my house.
No.
Or any.
Do a CCTV.
Right. If I were to get to the point of paranoia where I wanted cameras, it would be a hardwired system to a hard drive in my house that may be accessible, that I could get onto the hard drive from my phone or from a computer, but it would be a password encrypted kind of connection to get into it at best. But that's what I have guns for. I'm excited not to see my dog for a couple hours. I don't need to check in on him when I'm at work.
Yeah, they got those cool ones now where you can watch a video and hit a button to give it a treat.
Yeah, come here, come lick the camera that I'm in right now and make me feel like you love me when I'm not there. And I'll give you.
It's got to flip out dogs and cats, and you've got this little R2D2 looking thing that's all of a sudden you hear your owner's voice. It's like, wait, what the fuck is going on?
I figured it out like they figure other shit out. It's like, well, the one to me, the Roomba one's the one that's scary again. Like all these things, the
map out your house.
The Terminator 2 was happening right in front of our eyes, and we just seem to be leaning into it. Yeah, it's the Roomba one where they have taken the cameras off of them because they don't need them anymore. They figured out when you connect it to the Wi-Fi, they figured out that your Wi-Fi router in your home is basically a radar system, and that the firmware that's on your Roomba can use your router to basically radar map your entire house.
I don't know how that would work.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not exactly sure how it works either, but like to the point of bodies moving in the house using the Wi-Fi, it knows that there's a body in the room. So if it's vacuuming, if you're in the living room and it's vacuuming in the living room and you're just sitting on the couch and your feet are on the ground, it will go around your feet with no sensors on itself telling it that. The Wi-Fi is telling it that.
Not even a little infrared?
I don't think so.
Huh.
And so, anyway.
I've never wanted one. I don't even know how expensive they are, but it just sounds like a waste of money and energy. Because it can't sweep that well. I think they've even got a wet one now that's supposed to I think you can actually mop a little bit.
The one I want,
clean up liquids.
The thing that I want is, I don't like the idea of a whole house central vac system, but there's a baseboard kitchen vacuum.
I think I've seen an ad for those. You just kind of sweep it up to it.
Right, and you just kind of you tap it with your foot, and the flap opens up, and there's a shop vac, basically, hose that's right there, and you just sweep all your mess into it.
The whole ones are kind of weird. I can't imagine how expensive they are. The ones that are just kind of like an outlet in the wall. You've got a big hose you can chuck out. Decent concept. I don't think that's something you'd have to put in while your home was being constructed, or how much of a pain in the ass to tear in your walls.
Well, the thing about it, there was a time when it made sense, but nowadays the technology on a regular vacuum is good enough where you can get the suction and stuff like that. Where it's okay, I'm using this thing that's in the wall, so I don't have to carry around the whole quote vacuum. But the amount of hose and stuff you have to carry around to do it, it's like, well, that's bulkier and harder to handle than one of these vacuums that I can get.
Yeah.
Because I remember like when my mom spent...
And how do you fish out that clog that it gets in there?
Yeah. You just got to get the
like,
plumber.
Where's it at?
You got to get the plumber out, I guess.
Exactly.
Get the super snake. I remember my mom like the highest end vacuum when I was a kid. My mom bought, and it was one of the ones that was like a pull behind. Like it was, I don't know, like a box with 2 wheels on it, and you just drug it.
Yeah, our parents had one of those years ago.
It had like a 6-foot hose, and then it had a wand basically that you did the vacuuming with. And like that was like super high end because the suction per cubic inch or whatever was amazing and blah, 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 blah. And that's essentially like that is what the in-home systems were. It's just instead of having that box you drag behind, you just plug your hose into different things in different rooms.
Make some receptacle in your basement or somewhere.
I mean, I don't know. I just need to get it made. Then you don't have to worry about it.
There's always that option.
But then I have to let a stranger in my house, and I don't want a stranger in my house either. Is that true? I let strangers in this house all the time.
That's when you get your CCTV.
I did get to be right. Yeah, because you need to watch the stranger house. I did meet Kent Morrell. He's the guy that's tried to run against Briggs a couple times. He's a pro-pot Republican. He's a at least from what little I know about him, he's probably right up my alley. Like me and him are going to get along. He's going to lose races because he's agrees with me on a lot of stuff, and so I don't see him getting off the ground. But
still got a chance. Maybe you can up his chance.
He's going to primary him. I mean, like that's the one thing that I took away from it. The Hemp Law Group at least understands how Tennessee politics works. Is we give a shit about general elections. General elections do not matter. Republican primaries are all that matters. We have to find Republicans to run and win primaries against Briggs and Lamberts and what's your guy? Lieutenant Governor McNally.
Oh yeah.
You know, we've got to get Republicans to beat to beat. You know, we've got to get Republicans to win primaries that have decent values, like for the particular that we're talking about, at least for the hemp side of the conversation. We need Republicans to win primaries that are enough Republican that they can beat a Republican in a primary, but that are pro hemp on top of. Which is why Mr. Morrell, is that what I said? Kent Morrell, he ain't gonna beat. He's too much of a psychopath like me. Yeah. To like, sure, he's pro hemp, great, but on all the other stuff that matters to general voters in District 7 in the state of Tennessee, or District 5 in the state of Tennessee, he's going to be too much of a loon for him. Really? And so, unless hemp is your number one issue as a voter, you're not going to vote for him in a primary.
Is that an angle he was looking to even run on? Or that was just his...
Apparently it's been a thing for him for his last attempt at it. I mean, because he was the one, like, when I was...
I mean, Becky's been pushing medicinal, at least for a little while.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple.
Medicinal.
Right. Your Panson guy, he apparently had floated the idea of floating a recreational bill in the state.
Really?
Yeah.
That's surprising. I thought it was always like, one or two people out of Nashville that put forward every year.
Apparently there was a Republican and not one of the loon Republicans, one of the more run-of-the-mill Tennessee establishment Republicans that had floated the concept, which Briggs said he'd be on board with if somebody had introduced it. And it's like, well, why are you introducing one to go backwards? Because you're not on board with it. That doesn't make any sense.
Well, even on the hemp side, I mean, you go to some of these more agricultural counties, it is big money for the handful of operators or growers that are doing it there.
Sure.
Growing industrial hemp.
Yeah. Which this bill is going to fuck up too. I mean, there's going to, like, Tennessee industrial hemp growth is going to have a real problem.
Yeah.
Which they're already freaking out about because they're already trying to figure out planting cycles and stuff like that. Because, like, if they drop the percentage of pre-harvest THC available so if it's out in the field already and they're going to come out and test it, it's going to it needs to be out in the field already. And it's like, well, if the particular subspecies that you have growing is consistently growing over that, you're going to have to reseed and start over.
Possibly, yeah. Have you seen any ads for the Paul Rose guy?
No.
It's kind of funny. It doesn't say much about him. It's just like farmer, Christian, something else, and supports Donald Trump.
Cool.
So
that's
like campaign ad.
Keep it up because I don't think that's going to sell well.
I was like, that's your main like four
talking
guy running
points? For governor.
No, I think he's running for Senate, maybe. I can't remember now.
Running against Haggerty?
Huh?
He's going to try to run against Haggerty for that Senate seat?
I don't think it was. Maybe it was governor.
It's got to be governor.
Yeah, I think it's governor, maybe.
Because we have got next even cycle is Governor Haggerty's Senate seat. And then a bunch of different local shit.
Yeah.
All the state house races. Briggs is on the next even cycle. Massey is not. McNally's on the next Republican cycle. Massey's not. But all the House seats are. Yeah, because he's the one that. Well, no, is Rose the one he's a state or he's a federal rep currently?
No, I'm not sure if he's actually in office right now. 'Cause I know he was on the ballot to be a elector, yeah. But I'm not sure if he actually holds a current seat anywhere.
I mean, I don't know. Like going to the national party cycle stuff, I think a lot. I don't think any of the value that Trump had for the generic voter is going to go in the next cycle. There's got to have to be a significant change in the world as we see it for people to support Trump supporting candidates.
That's possible.
I mean, he's finding new ways to get lower in approval rating than he did the first term.
Yeah.
Taco Trump is on the rise. I can't. I mean, the balls and
it was some kind of like economic news magazine or something.
Yeah, the balls to ask that to his face is great.
Oh, the reporter that asked him about it.
I mean, what? I don't know. I don't fucking know. Like the national shit's so fucked up.
What did I say? Chicken out? I didn't chicken out.
There's one particular something in the Big Beautiful Bill that's uber scary. It's basically some weird little verbiage thing that basically makes it so that federal district judges basically can't do anything about any federal.
I think I saw something about that.
And that's scary. Because that gets to the point where it's like, well...
There's a handful of things that are in the fine print of this big bill.
All the other parts and pieces ain't great as far as I've heard either, but like the one that basically is just kind of like, well, the executive can do whatever the fuck he wants now. Because the executive is the one that's going to execute the function of whatever the legislature is supposedly asking him to do.
I read something today that there was... Because I think right now it's in the Senate. But I thought there was some kind of push by at least some of the GOP senators or whatever to cut like $27 billion from the current budget, basically, or out of this bill.
Well, that's the question on that one. On the one that I'm talking about is whether or not the parliamentarian basically says this is a budget bill and that's a policy. You can't have policy stuff in a budget bill. Because the way it's worded basically is that it's something about like entities must pay a deposit or place a bond, put a bond in play to do certain actions, and that's non-federal basically. States have to do it. If states are going to do something that goes under this provision or whatever, they have to put up a bond to guarantee their ability to pay for it. Where any federal agency doesn't have to because it's the federal government. They don't have to. And so it basically says states can, the courts can intercede on state issues. They can't intercede on federal issues. Because the only way they could make it a budget issue was to make it about that bond money. Oh. But really what it's doing is just giving the executive branch the right to not have to worry about courts.
I thought something that basically, I guess it was trying to curtail some of their power that would, injunctions basically that then spread out to other districts, that any kind of ruling would only apply to their district or whatever.
It's the bird, was it the bird? They call it the bird bath. So some bird act from back in the day, which basically makes it so, which is basically saying that you cannot include policy in a budget bill. And you cannot include, any policy bill has to include budget notes, but cannot be budget related. They can't change budget. You know what I'm saying? Like this policy, I want to affect.
It can't affect any more ingoing or outgoing.
Right.
Without
This policy I want to do is goes inside this budget that already exists, and it's going to cost this much. This policy cannot say, but it's also going to add this much to this budget. And so the parliamentarian is apparently the procedure that's supposed to weed that out and basically say to the Senate floor, it's like, you could vote on this if you want to, but this part cannot pass. It violates the Byrd Act or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So fingers crossed. I don't know.
I think that was a West Virginia Senator, Robert Byrd. I'm assuming it's probably him.
Yeah, but anyway, apparently inside the loop, they call it the Byrd Bath.
And the Beltway.
Yeah, the Beltway. Thank you. That's my one little tidbit that I got from Breaking Points this week.
Yeah,
I've not been keeping up to date. I've not been good on. I'm still like this summer schedule is still trying to screw with me. This kid with the football thing, got to be at the school at 8 in the morning.
Start them early.
No, I mean,
a lot of times they do it that early in the summertime, just like we did band camp early, to keep you out of the afternoon summer heat.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. They got camp, and I mean, he said the other day they ran and ran and ran. And he puked like 8 times. Like, it's gonna happen.
I'll do that.
Like, it's gonna. I mean, I'm really happy. I'm really impressed with him. I'm really proud of him because he's, hey man, go to bed. Yeah, I'm getting ready for bed. Like he's not trying to stay up late like he usually does on the weekends and stuff. He might be tonight because he doesn't have practice tomorrow.
Right.
But he's putting the self-effort thing that's going on right now is really quite pleasing, for lack of a better word.
So eat bananas, do a lot of stretching.
Yep. Eat bananas, do a lot of stretching, drink water.
I don't know if protein shakes are good. That's for building muscle. Protein shakes.
They're doing some lifting. We made these peanut butter balls. It's like peanut butter, protein powder, honey. Mm-hmm. Stirred up in these they're yummy. They're actually really good. I probably don't need it. I don't need the extra fats that are in it for me. He does.
Is it bad fats?
Probably not.
No.
But it's just fats in it. I like it, but it's not, I don't know. Whatever. I'm excited. If he's excited, he stays into it. I am not excited about getting up at 6 o'clock on next Saturday morning.
Yeah.
To go to Alberry's and make pancakes. Which he's like, well, I don't have to go. The freshmen don't have to go. Just seniors do. It's like, you're going. If we're doing this thing, you're all into this thing. You have to be. One, for the coach's sake. If you want to get a shot at what you want versus what they tell you to do, sure, you've got to show them that you want more than, and you're willing to do more than the other kids.
Yeah.
If there's a reason, if there's something going on that excludes us from doing something, then we will do it. But there's no excuse. There's no excuse. You were going to be part of everything they're doing.
And they have a hockey team? I want to say I thought I heard Bearden had a hockey team.
I don't know.
I remember they tried to do a roller hockey team. I remember I had the teacher that was trying to start it. I think it only maybe lasted a year or two.
No, I would have been in on that. I don't think so. I don't remember that at all.
About our senior year.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to figure it out. I'm just like I don't know. Like my internal clock schedule's so out of whack right now.
Might as well.
Trying to get all this stuff going. The enforcement cameras, Magnolia Chill Howie. Yeah, I don't care about any of that. Amelia Parker's pissed off.
Was she the one no vote on the budgets?
Yeah, she was the no vote on the budget. She was the no vote. I think she was the no vote on the cameras. Good job. She's she's the no vote on this big East Knox redevelopment district, which basically, I mean, it just opens up a bunch of tax incentives for developers to invest in Magnolia properties. And it's like, I don't know. It's the gentrification argument. It's that kind of thing in play. I get it. I actually kind of get where Amelia's coming from on it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That's,
There's a fine line between fixing up the neighborhood and pricing people that have lived there for decades out of the neighborhood.
I don't know. I don't know what the answer to that is. It's like, but the people that have been living there for decades are probably people that, if you talk to them and are honest, are tired of it being dirty and messy and crime and whatever it is that's going on there. And the solution to what the actual residents' issues with the neighborhood are investments. It's the same as the parking thing downtown. It's the same as a lot of this shit down, a lot of these different issues. It's like the solution to the problem you're having, you don't want either. What are we going to do about it? The solution, like I don't know, like for me, like the solution to downtown parking is not more parking garages.
Yeah.
Or all right, the big one that we've been talking about for a while. The solution to the growth issue of Knox County. Well, if we don't like the growth, there's the only solution at play is to make it not attractive, and we don't want that either.
I was about to say no city, or because we have a tourism board and everything. We make some money for people coming here.
Well,
we
but
got the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame.
People coming to visit and people coming to stay are the difference. It's people coming to
right, but I mean, as far as like trying to advertise your city is a less desirable place to move to.
Right.
So no city's ever going to take that angle.
Right, but in like a fully democratic, like in a small D democratic kind of thing in play, it's like, well, okay, if we as the residents here want to put a stop to growth, there's only one way to do that, and you make it. And the only way to do that is to make it undesirable. How do you make it undesirable? You have significant taxes, bad services. We can't do anything about. I mean, we could just put a big coal plant or something out here and make it dirty and gross and ruin the environment. But like we have a gorgeous environment that we live in. Can't really do a lot about that part. What we can do is make it expensive to live here. Make the city services and the county services and the government services locally suck. And that will deter people from moving here. I don't know of any other option. I'm all ears.
Yeah.
I believe it is against federal law to make to do a state-to-state immigration tax. Like you can't make it expensive for people from other places to moving here, different than people from near here moving here. Like you can't put a tax on. Like okay, so like you live in Kentucky, I live in Knox County. You can't put a tax on you to buy the same house as me, because you're coming in from another state.
Right.
You can't do that. So the solution to growth is what? It's either prepare for it or figure out how to stop it. The only way you're going to stop it is nobody wants. That's the same thing with the gentrification argument to me. The solution to your problems, the people that actually live there and the residents, nobody wants either. I don't know what else you like. What do you want? Like, what do you do? If the people that are most affected by it and by the problem that's in play want a solution but can't afford the solution, I don't know what to do for that. Like if we're going to call that racist and gentrification, okay, I don't know what the answer is, because it's not necessarily based on an acute system of racism. I can acknowledge the historical systematic racist issues that got us here. But at the end of the day, if we want the Magnolia Corridor to be nicer and cleaner and safer, this is how you get there. And the consequence of that is it's going to displace people. It's going to price people out of living there. I don't know of another solution. I don't know that you can legally carve an exemption for current. Like you live here and, if you are like, maybe the city could do like, current resident, like if you own your house,
lock in a property tax rate,
right? A locked property tax rate for all people that live there. But then how does the city afford the tax incentives for the commercial side of that? Like, so residential tax rates are fixed, but commercial aren't.
Possibly, yeah.
I don't know if that's if that's an option. That's the best I could think of to get the result that people are asking for.
So I think that's probably the one thing that drives up property values the most. Is you start having more amenities, more businesses coming into that area, kind of raising the overall.
But that's just it. Like, okay, so even if you could, all right, even if you could lock in the property value for residential, if you own the home, you're safe, right? You're safe in cost wise for living. Your mortgage is fixed. Your taxes are now fixed at some level. You can continue to live there. But the incentive for you to sell that place is super high. Because year in and year out, the value of your property is going to be way past what you're getting taxed at.
Right.
Right? And so your incentive to sell is going to be super high if you happen to own. If you're renting, you're fucked. That's just there's no other way to say it other than if you're a renter, you just deal with what your landlord deals with.
Right.
And your landlord is going to be strongly incentivized to super upgrade and luxury it because the demand is there, or sell it to somebody who's going to do the upgrades and turn it luxury and pay it and charge a much higher rent. But again, just focusing on the people who happen to own, which is probably a pretty small percentage, to be fair, if we're honest about it.
I think most people are renting down there.
I think I would guess that would be my assumption.
I don't think so.
Okay, I apologize.
I'd be surprised if it's even less than half.
Okay, all right. Either way, even if so, but fine. Even if it's a majority of the people, the people that regardless of it, of the percentage of the population in the neighborhood that owns versus rents, those that do own are going to be strongly incentivized to sell because the demand for their property is going to exceed the value that they, like, hey, this is my house. I love living here. Okay. But, you paid for, you paid $100,000 for this house in 2005 and you got a guy knocking down your door telling you he's going to pay you $500,000 for it because all the amenities and all the things that are going into place have raised the value that much that, a house flipper can come in there, buy it for $500,000, do a little bit of work and sell it for $750,000. The demand is going to be like the incentive for those people to sell and leave and self-deport, for lack of a better word, is going to be super high.
Depending. Because as housing prices across the city go up, they may be getting a good penny for their house now, but it's probably not helping that much if they're looking for a new house.
Yeah.
The house prices have gone up. If they want to move from, East Knoxville to North Knoxville.
Well, like the real question, and then maybe I accidentally, I blew past probably the most important part of it. Does the investment in commercial development bring jobs and higher income for the people that live nearby? That's the one real one. Like, they go and put a fucking Lululemon or whatever it is on Magnolia. Are they hiring people that live in the neighborhood to come work there?
Right.
And are they paying a good wage above what those people were making doing whatever they were doing before so that they can afford the higher property tax on the house and they can afford to make their own upgrades and increase and better their own lives through that? That's the question. I don't know how
even a store like that, you've probably got 12 to 15 employees tops.
Yes, but that was just a bullshit example.
Right. I know.
If
change any kind of retail store like that.
Right, but if the whole if the whole of Magnolia upgrades and puts new and nicer and more and bigger and blah 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 blah, that should employ more people than what's currently there. Because you're going to have strip malls that are currently empty or half full, now full, and it's a bigger and newer and whatever. Like you're going to have yeah. Does the employment come with the development? I guess do locals get the employment that goes with the commercial development? That's right. The question. Do those people do the people that live nearby standard of living go up because their income goes up because they get new better jobs, or are they still taking the bus somewhere to work minimum wage somewhere else or low wage doing something else? Does this improve their individual quality of life?
That's going to depend on the business. Because I would say even, your example of a, clothing retailer, I don't think they're paying, $20 an hour.
Right. But yeah. I mean, who knows? I mean, it could be lots of different, again, like the stupid Lululemon thing was just a random example, but right. Are they hiring people or are there people that are commuting in to work those jobs? Is it somebody that's unemployed or very underemployed that goes from making minimum wage to making $15 an hour at a Lululemon? That's a substantial difference to that person's bottom line. Or is somebody driving across town to come work in there?
Right.
That kind of stuff. Not that an employer should. I mean, I would prefer people that live next door because it's easier to get them to work and be at work at times.
Yeah, that was more reliable. It's like, you live 3
they
miles
should
away.
Be more
like,
reliable, cool. But yeah. I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like, I understand the parameters of what gentrification is. I just don't understand how you avoid it when you want to invest in a community, because that's kind of the point. When you have a again, I use the state in the broad term of the government in general. When the state, on one level or another, is investing in a neighborhood, it's going to become gentrification on some level.
That's what I was saying. I think it's kind of like a fine line of, actually having, a good stormwater draining system, so updating that, updating infrastructure, putting in sidewalks, more street lights.
Well, that's what the
There's a difference between that and
did.
then, the city putting in, a 20 bay, electric charge station, et cetera, and those kind of like higher end things.
Well, that's what TIFs, because most of what a redevelopment thing is TIF programs. And TIF programs are, instead of paying taxes, well, when you pay your taxes for your new property tax, that money is obliged to stay on your doorstep. So if a piece of property is $100,000 and it becomes $500,000, the difference in those taxes, the $100,000 worth of those taxes, the $100,000 worth of value that goes into property tax goes to the regular general fund. That new tax created by the $400,000 investment has to go to local issues, has to go to local infrastructure improvements, whatever.
As far as just, I guess, the only boundary that would be that district.
I'm not exactly sure. Like it's in, like, well, yeah, whatever the redevelopment district is, yeah.
Okay.
And so, like, it's Magnolia proper from Hall of Fame to Cherry Street, give or take. So any developer that comes in there and invests in building new buildings or whatever, the increase in property tax value, the increased property tax all goes right back into Magnolia proper. Whether that's repaving, fixing stormwater, putting new sewage lines in, putting new stoplights up, putting new streetlights up, all those different bits and bobs, automatically.
Yeah.
Stay local. Stay super local.
I did say there was some small town that was looking at charging. I'm assuming the small town was having some budgetary issues, but they were floating the idea of charging people $20 a month, I believe, for like trash pickup. Or I didn't read the full story, but I'm assuming right now it's probably like, Knoxville City is, to where you get free trash pickup within the boundaries.
See, the problem with pay for trash pickup is where's the line for the individual between I'm going to pay for it or I'm just going to throw it in the gutter.
Sure.
I mean that's really what it's all about. That's why
I lived in a couple times. I lived in this. Well, most recent time I lived in the city, like I still saw a bunch of trash everywhere. I think I left a good bit at the curb, but
well, like I went to I had I pulled the old gas out of that stupid Rhino, the side by side.
Yeah.
And I had it in a bucket, and I just didn't want to fucking go down to the Baxter Dump Center. It's a pain in the ass.
So yeah, up the street from where I used to live, I think was pretty much like a big dump site.
But where I talked to, or when I pulled in and talked to him, I was like, I just got some gas, some old bad gas I need to get rid of. They're like, oh, you pull over to that thing. It's like, where do you live? I was like, county. And like, is it actual county? He's like, yeah. Not city limits? Nope. They're like, okay, you're fine. You don't have to stop back on the way back. You don't have to pay. So Knox County city residents would have had to pay for it, I guess. Or maybe a non-county residents. I'm not exactly sure. I should have asked in hindsight. I know if you go trash in there, you got to get on the scale both ways.
All right.
You get on the scale, you're X. You dump your shit, you get back on the scale. Whatever the difference is, you got to pay per pound.
Right. So it's usually people dropping off a good bit of shit.
Right.
So like you literally gave us, a ton of junk.
Right, but all the Knox County collection centers are free.
Right.
But there's certain things they don't take.
Right.
The one that's funny,
essentially there's only something that big kind of compactor or whatever. You can only fit certain things in there. I've seen some pretty big shit that got put in there. Oh,
they'll break them. The compactor will break that shit down. But
we got there once when there was like a junk be gone showed up, and I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Which I don't know what the deal is. Like, there are some rules on it, and they're allowed to, like, refuse it.
I tried to take and it didn't even have any Freon, but it was a little mini fridge. Like, set it on the ground by, like, the other appliances. The guy was, like, yelling at me from up in, like, the little race trailer. He's like, you can't leave that. I'm like, it's not, there's no Freon. just wasn't going to fight with them. I'm like, all right, fine, I'll go take it somewhere else.
Yeah, I was told that if you ever want to do that, you take a spike and put a hole in the compressor.
Oh, is that a compressor thing?
The big bulb that's under there.
I never broke into it. Like I said, it didn't have Freon at all. I think he just assumed that it was a small refrigerator that had Freon, because I think that's the one kind of...
Right, that's the big thing they can't fuck with. Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, I was told
it's supposed to be disposed of properly.
Right, like I had the compressor from... We replaced the compressor on an air conditioner. And the guy that did the replacement was like... he's like, it's $50 if I'm taking this with me. I was like, what do you mean it's $50? He's like, well,
they're supposed to they're supposed to properly recapture that Freon.
Right. He's like, well, we got to take the dump. I got to take it to the dump, and I'm going to have to do the thing with the dump. And I was like, but the reason you're replacing it is because there's a crack, and there's no Freon in it. He's like, yeah, I know, but that's just how it is. And he's like, a lot of times, like if you take it to them and there's a big hole in it, they don't really say anything, but. Yeah, if it was a crack at one of the fittings that was cut off when he was taking it out. He's like, there's no sign that it's empty, and so I got to pay $50 to dump it. So it's not $50 to me. And it's like okay. So
I was disappointed. I thought I'd see him at other like Home Depots, but I tried to take some 3-4 foot fluorescent bulbs in there because I thought they had a.
They do. They don't.
I think they're just for smaller ones. Maybe it was Lowe's I was thinking of. I kind of walked in. I was like, do you guys have the receptacle? And they're like, no. I guess they do smaller CFLs, but not like the actual 4-foot tubes.
Those are always my favorite thing. I'd like the baseball bat on those on the dumpster. Very bad for my lungs.
I put it in our dumpster and hope they picked it up and took it away. I guess I was kind of worried they were going to take it out and just leave it on the side of the road. Like, sorry, we can't take these.
Nah, they'll take it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like trash as a whole. Subset of things. I'll be a city resident soon, so I got a free can.
Yeah, I've only lived in a couple places that paid for a service, and they're not cheap because there's only a handful that service your area.
It's weird. I find it kind of weird on the trash pickup thing. It's like commercial, you have to. Like I have to. Like we're having a whole big. I'm trying to get to.
Trying to get a neighborhood dumpster.
A neighborhood dumpster for the holler because we have 6 different businesses that we have 4 dumpsters that we all kind of share that we don't need to share. We're just sharing them because we all have dumpsters.
Right.
And they all sit in the same spot. And it's like, well,
do they ever get very full?
No. That's the joke I keep telling when I'm trying to pitch my idea to everybody. It's like nobody pays attention to which dumpster they're loading. It's just whichever one's emptiest.
Yeah.
So your staff is putting trash in my dumpster. My staff is putting trash in your dumpster. It just depends on the fucking day of the week.
True.
Why are we paying $200 and you're paying $200 when we could each pay $100? And I'm trying to get that with combining the different businesses that are down there. And then I'm trying to get Randy Burleson to build me a corral. So everything on my project list. Because they all sit on his property, which is extra funny. I don't know if you know if it. I don't know if he knows that that's what's going on, but that's what's going on. Should have said that on air. Oops. Anyway, I don't know.
I don't know. You would think an account like that has to be under one business. I don't know, it might be kind of weird to.
It will be. It'll be
it
under.
has to be under like somebody's liability if bills aren't get paid.
I have 3 LLCs. I'll pick one. I'll put it on there, and then everybody will pay me.
Yeah.
And then I'll pay it.
Then you got to go be a debt collector.
I know. That's one of the things that I want to.
I'll cut your bill. You can't use the dumpster anymore. Like, all right, try to stop us.
Right. That's one of the things. Is like I'm actually. That's one of the things I've been working on is researching an automated system that on monthly it sends the invoice, and if we're going to do this, all of you have to be on automatic.
Call your lawyer and have them draw up some kind of legal paperwork.
Yeah.
Some kind of binding contract.
Yeah. Which I don't know. Like about everybody's
like more than 6 months delinquent.
Everybody's cool.
I get your business.
Everybody's cool, but right there needs to be something in the print that says like if you're not paying for it, we got to figure out how to make sure that you do. It's not fair. If something comes up and it's a big deal, whatever. I mean, I don't know. It's a process. It's like it's one of those things when you get a group of owners together, it gets wonky real fast. Everybody's got their own things, and what they don't want to do is another thing.
Yeah, because I'd say some like the restaurant places like that. They're like, well, we put out the most trash Friday, Saturday nights. We're not putting it in there throughout the week, really, or we're putting in a lot less. throughout the week, maybe.
Yeah, but I don't know. I gotta go shop. I gotta go shop dumpsters, which is a fun process. Salesmen suck. Those salesmen are the worst. It's just a weird. I mean, it's just a weird thing to sell. Like, could you imagine being a dumpster salesman?
No,
because nobody knows what the fuck you're talking about. Like the details of what a dumpster is and how dumpsters work. You know, because all it is it's a receptacle. It's a trash can. It's a giant trash can. Everybody puts their little trash cans in the big trash can, and then the truck comes by and takes the big trash can and dumps it into its bigger trash can, and then takes it to the dump. And so, like, the parameters of how most dumpsters work is it's the size of the dumpster, it's the size of the trash can, and how many times you want it picked up.
Right. So it's about to say, where do you want it, and when do we need to get cars out of the way so you can get it?
Right.
What are you going to pick up?
Right. And it's like, well, I don't care. Like, I want it picked up as many times as it needs to be picked up. I don't care when you pick it up.
Yeah, but I think you have to be on some kind of schedule. They can't just drive by and be like, "Oh,
right." But you put it on a schedule. But it's like I don't have a particular. What's more convenient for you guys? Like, is it cheaper? Like, if you got somebody in the neighborhood or nearby on Tuesdays, then pick it up on Tuesday. I don't care what day of the week it is. Just tell me what day of the week's easy for you guys.
All right.
But it's like, well, if you want a particular day, you got to pay extra. It's like, I don't want to pay extra. I want whatever's easiest.
Just want
for
you to come once a week. You just tell me what day once a week.
Right. Or I want you to come twice a week.
Don't empty it on Sunday and then come empty it on Monday and
right.
wait another week.
Right. I think Sunday and Wednesday we're golden.
Yeah.
Or Sunday and Thursday. That would be perfect. I think. I don't know. I got to play that game. But it's all these different competing whatevers, and everybody's got their fucking bullshit and their standard, and this is what we've always done. It's like, okay, I get it, but
got to have those bars, make sure people can't jump in it.
Well, that's one of the things I want to. Actually, it's one of the things on my list to do is I want to ask. I am confident it is not okay.
I ran into a couple where like the little side door is like literally welded shut. Like you have to access it through the top. And sometimes those flaps are a bitch to open.
Sometimes because the trucks pound them against shit and they bend them. Because that's one of the things that we want to do is we want to put a lock on it. We want to lock them shut. And so that you can only only people that are allowed access.
Yeah.
Because one of the problems we have is our neighborhood gets into it. Because one of the things I would like to do, I really would like to do this, is just make a wire mesh box and be like, hey, if you got cans, just throw them in the box. Because that's all they're doing. The guys are getting in the dumpster, they're pulling food out, and they're pulling the cans out.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, let's they're getting recycled. That's a bonus. We're not throwing them away. It's a win-win. You know, we don't have to go through the process of going to the recycler. We're recycling our cans. Everybody does beer in cans now. Let's all throw those in one box and let the neighborhood pick them up for us, and we don't get paid, but we don't have to pay for that. We don't have to fill our dumpster with that.
Right.
And then we can lock the dumpster, and maybe they won't dig through our dumpster as much and throw all because like what ends up happening is they go and they jump in the dumpster and they throw the bags out, dig through the bags, and then leave them.
Right.
And so we have just all of our trash that we put in the dumpster is now spread around our dumpster, and then we have to go out there and clean it up again.
Yeah, but you would think if you had a separate, aluminum cage, you're just going to entice more to keep coming in there to check and looking for it.
Well, you're right. Stay in the cage. We'll keep putting the cans in the cage for you. Stay out of the dumpster. If you're going to get in the dumpster anyway and make a mess, then we're just going to throw it all in the dumpster and make you do the work.
And they'll make you guys clean it up.
Well, we're going to have to clean it up either way. So we're going to make your life worse if you're making our life worse. So let's make it easy on everybody. That's what I'm trying to pitch here. But I don't know. Whatever. I mean, But again, I guarantee you the city would say no to that. And I get it on a health and safety. A bunch of empty beer cans in an open, non-confined thing. The health and safety, or the health department on that, I can see them being quite upset. Because that would probably be a bugs and rodent issue pretty fast.
It'd get pretty stinky fast, too.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. It depends how quick these guys... I mean, these guys come daily, so, they'd be cleared out pretty quick. So, anyway, let's get weird and let's call it a day. I gotta go drug my cat. It's been a whole thing.
Let's see here. We got cicada swarms coming back to parts of the U.S.
Let's do it!
Brood 14, 17-year cycle.
Ooh, okay.
Let's see, where's it coming to? Got Eastern U.S.
Have you seen any fireflies yet this year?
I don't believe so. Did see a doe run through my yard the other day.
What is normal for fireflies? I feel like it's already firefly season. When's the the
little festival they do at
Yeah.
Sugarlands? I'm not sure. I think I remember seeing an article about it because they've had it since it's so damn popular. I think you had to start ordering like tickets basically to go at certain days and certain times because you ride like a tour bus out to the spot. I did read it was somewhere up north. I think it was mayflies, where the city or town was going to start having kind of like a light ordinance, and they were going to start shutting off a lot of the street lights. Because I guess during a certain time of year, they were just swarming all the cars. And I remember seeing them a couple times at the gas station we worked there.
Yeah, it's right now.
Yeah.
May 29th through June 5th is the viewing of the synchronous firefly in Elkmont.
Elkmont, yeah.
Lottery opened on May 2nd, blah, 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 whatever. But, like, it's right now. Like, right now is supposed to be when it's happening. And we have a good population that usually hangs out in the backyard.
The rain and the temperatures kind of held them off.
Yeah. I'm very curious to see how it's going this weekend. It's happening right now as we speak. This week is the big event.
Or the flora in the areas maybe changed.
Firefly fluid etiquette. I love it.
Yes.
Anywho. Cicada brood. Gonna get loud. I'll take it. I love it. That is one of the summer nights things that makes me feel alive. One more.
Yep, we have the annual cheese race. Got runners trip, stumble, and roll their way to victory in annual downhill cheese chase.
Did you see the docu-series on that? Like the crazy American
docu-series. I've seen lots of videos of people.
There's like a
eating it.
It was a really cool series. It was like a bunch of these type things around the world.
Actually, I think like a Netflix series or something.
Yeah, it was really good. It was like Amazing Human Feats, or like I can't remember what it was called. But
yeah, I think I did see some of that series.
It was very fantastic because the coverage on this one was very good. The chick that won like 2 years in a row, and like all the different people that have been doing it for decades, and like the old timers that were just hanging out watching the thing. Remember when that started when they were kids or whatever? It's like it's fucking crazy.
Yeah, but you get to keep a giant wheel of cheese.
It's one of those like and this is the fear like when you do an event, when you host an event like I do with Holaroo. It's like it's one of the fears is that you gotta balance the growth and excitement for it. No, not the self. The safety part's really that it's not the point. It's where it gets to the point where people start training for it and are serious about it, because it's one of those things that started as a lark. Like it was like let's chase this cheese wheel down a hill. And then all of a sudden it turned into this big crazy thing, and then there's people that train for it. Like, I would hate that. It would ruin the whole, like, thing. The whole thing is that it's stupid and it's impromptu.
Yeah, but people are competitive by nature. I mean,
oh, absolutely. And that's that's my biggest fear with Holaroo is that the race is going to turn, like, angry competitive, and then I have to go through all sorts of bullshit and making sure people aren't cheating and got rules and blah, blah, blah.
Reweigh like right before the race or something.
Right. Well, like that. Like I've said it at every driver meeting we've done, and everybody I've talked to, every race car, every derby driver I've talked to is like, I will not get to the place where I have to collect your cars a week early and store them,
right,
so that I can have a group of people go through every square inch of your car to make sure this is right and this is right and this is right. I will not write a 15-page rule sheet. We're here to have a good time. If you want to cheat to have a good time, get the fuck out of here. I don't know how to fix that. I'm not going to do it.
You just got to keep the prizes really low. You got to not incentivize them to even be tempted to cheat.
Well, but I have some awesome ass trophies, and that's really the prize.
Right. So I'm saying, when you start getting into like, $500 to the winner or whatever, that's when people are like, huh, I could probably use $500.
Well, but $500 is not worth cheating for, because it's going to cost you more than $500 to cheat. That's the one thing.
I mean, not if you've already got a car built that's done halfway decent the past 3 or 4 years.
No, it's going to cost you.
Just throw some weights on the front.
I mean, that's well, other than obvious cheating, yes, but like at the end of the day, like to run my derby, it's going to cost you a couple $100.
Yeah.
And so you're going to spend a couple $100 to cheat for a chance to win $500. That's a little bit of a stretch.
Let's get some of their money back.
Yeah, but like at that point, it's like, well, just don't spend your fucking money.
People have cheated for less.
That's my fear. That's my biggest fear with the thing.
But I had to win. I wanted to win.
Well, that's the one thing about the Red Bull one that I like their system on. They figured it out right, is that they do one singular, and it's a combination of your time and the judges' score on your looks.
Huh.
And so you can cheat all you want on time, you can't cheat on looks.
True.
And so, cheat on time, fine, whatever. But they wreck all the time. Have you watched that shit?
I think I've seen some clips of some.
Yeah,
they've actually got more turns and stuff, I think.
Right, they have jumps and obstacles.
They got jump shit.
Yeah, they got jumps, and the one that I was watching, the races that I've been watching, they have a water feature where it's it's this little double hump, and in between the two humps they fill it with water as a way to slow you down, and then they have what they call the bone rattler, which is like
bunch of little bumps.
5 little bumps in a row, and so they're trying to break cars is really the way their system. The way their race is set up, they're trying to break the cars. But there was one, I can't remember what the car's design was, but there was one that there was this little S-curve. And the way they had their fans was it was a hay bale, a fence, right up against the hay bales, and then the fan set. And the fence was only as tall as the hay bale stack was. And so people were standing with their elbows on the fence. And there was something hanging off this car. I can't remember what was part of the car's thing.
Like a big wing.
Right, it was a big wing something. And it, they barely made it around this little S-curve in it. And there were people that were sitting in the S-curve. And it looked like inches from somebody's face.
Yeah.
I don't like watching it because I put on with these races and I go, that's super fun and exciting, but that's also super scary to me. Super scary to me to put one of these on. So anyway, you should watch it and you should build a car designed on the things. And so there are rules, but one of them did build the 3-decker bus from Harry Potter.
Really?
But that was they had it exactly at the max height rule, which was 7 feet.
Damn.
Yeah, which is still pretty crazy. But anyway, I don't know what. Tell us about your synchronous fireflies thing. I'm curious to hear about it. almostagreement@gmail.com. I'm curious if it's even happening right now. Almost agreement, people. I got to go drug my cat. It's no fun. She hates it. She really, 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 really hates it. But she's got some sort of bronchial infection or something like that. And we're trying to knock it out. So anyway, almostagreement@gmail.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, go to the website, almostagreement.com. Check out what we got going on there. We're on your favorite podcast provider. Like, friend, share, follow, do what you can to help support the show. We're going to keep talking about stuff. I'm going to start reaching out to some of these city candidates and start lining up some interviews. I think I'm going to Zoom or phone call most of them. I actually do think I'm getting to that point of paranoia where I don't want people in my house anymore. That and the kids are home and it's summer break and it's harder to do things in the house and keep things quiet. So, almost agreement, everybody. Thanks for listening. Interviews are on my docket of shit to do. We're going to have a weird episode next week. We'll figure out exactly what that is this week while we're setting up for it. So, anyway, we'll keep an eye on taxes. We'll keep an eye on the cameras. We'll keep an eye on whatever goes on with Mr. Bean. Does he talk? I've never heard him talk. That's funny.
I don't think he's mute.
I was saying, Mr. Bean, the character. Anyway, almost agreement, everybody. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.